All right. Welcome back to episode, where are we at? Six? Episode 6 of our Baleful Hell campaign. We are running D&D 5th edition, and we would like to welcome you to the jungle island of Cholt. More of a continent, I guess. I don't know what the conversion ratio from island to continent is.
Australia's a fucking island.
It's a 10-day. So.
Yes.
Right?
24 Jeff Tron. So yeah, welcome everybody in. Whenever we left off last week, the party had left Camp Vengeance and proceeded northwest after the wreckage of a skyship that had been taken and ripped loose from the sky from a flying red dragon who had disarmed the fearless guide of the group, taking Hugh's left arm off and leaving him for dead. Hugh barely able to escape, and so with a renewed fire in his eyes, he knows that he's close to Quarry and that he has allies to help him. But more pressing matters are at hand. Genji has found out that some of his sworn enemies, and we'll discover more on Genji's backstory, but from tragic events back in his homeland, that a Jade Syndicate and the Jade Dragon clan, which were opposed to his own clan, ended up betraying and leading Genji on his voyage, his odyssey out west into the Sword Coast. And we know that Genji may have a sibling, and maybe even more than one, that are currently being held by this party. Why have they come to Cholt? We don't know. What are their goals? What are their aims? Hugh knew that the party was going to be heading into the interior of the island. He didn't end up taking the guidance job. Another one of the seasoned guides there in Port Zaru took that. And so there's a lot that remains to be seen, and we have encountered 3 new individuals that are the remnants of the crew of the multi-layered cod. And
it's awful. So awful.
So Captain Caracas and one of his mates, Knocker, and their cook, Po Campo, have been found and rescued from what was certainly to be some type of goblin ambush that they then came across up on the hill. We think maybe those goblins were laying in wait to either decide if they wanted to go and attack the survivors of the multi-layered cod, or if they wanted to wait for them to come up the hill. And so as we look out, you guys are still seeing this smoking hulk there in front of you. So that burnt smell quickly permeates your nostrils. You've start to come down from watching this, almost unhuman display of beautiful swordcraft between Genji and this masked assassin that pounced upon him. You know that through traveling with Genji, he has brought up these ninju, and that they are the worst of the worst, and you guys have encountered some pretty nefarious characters in your time, and so just the spite that Genji has for it, you've finally seen one, and you've seen how precise and deadly, and how they don't fight with honor. They use poisons, they use subterfuge, they strike like a guerrilla force, seemingly after the entire party just about had walked right by where this guy was hiding. The amount of dexterity and stealth are things that you're kind of reflecting is you're still seeing a little bit of twitch from his body as the last brainwaves are making their way to the muscles. And you're seeing a pretty steady of ooze of gore as it slowly creeps along, feeding this jungle almost a nice confectious treat. You guys are a little bit tired. You're hungry. You're worn out from today's conflict. What are your actions?
First thing I'm going to do is search the ninja. See if he has any messages, any any
Cool knives.
I mean, he's got his katana. I'm sure he's got that.
Yeah,
But yeah, I just want to see if he's got anything on him that that gives me more information about.
Give me a investigation check, please.
What time of day is it?
You're getting close to evening, so it's like late afternoon, but evening just because of the canopy that's out there. A 5?
Yeah, that's good.
So you think that he had packed just to come make the kill and delay? You don't think that he planned on coming back?
Okay.
That the goal seemed to have been to take you and go down fighting, making sure that the rest of the party would be incapable of tracking.
So he's just black pajamas and his katana, and that's it. Okay, I'm gonna keep his katana then, and then bury the rest of them.
Okay. So you hear that Genji has requested that he plans on doing, somewhat of a hastened burial ritual. He's not going to get full honors by any stretch of the means, but still do the right thing. Does anybody pitch in to help?
Yeah, I'll offer my services both to dig the ditch, and then I'll do my own rites of Dunbar.
Do me a religion check, please.
7.
So while you are helping and aiding with this, you're more focused on learning his craft and what he's doing in his religion to really focus your efforts on your own, what we'll call rites and auspices. You go through and you're more as a historian taking things down rather than an active participant, but you do find the ceremony to be interesting.
Angie, people always just taking care of their dead in this way.
Not usually. This is something unique to my clan and for the samurai in my clan. If this shinobi killed me, he would not have done this for me. He would have let me rot for the birds to eat my flesh.
I can assure you.
He is most dishonorable.
I can imagine. We wouldn't let you rot. I guarantee we'd find a way to bury it. But it's quite interesting. As this, you said just your clan, so the other clans have their own rituals.
Hi. Each clan pays homage and honor to their ancestor in different way.
So what did you do to this Jade Syndicate that they would send assassins after you willy-nilly?
Well, I have committed the great offense of surviving their murder attempt on me. I will.
Fair enough.
That is about it, actually.
Sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah.
Do I get a sense that he's being completely forthright?
Make an insight check and see.
I'd like to help him.
You can't really help
Okay, fair.
unless you guys want to make a stealth check to talk about it.
Yeah, 15.
The 15. So you can tell that there is a reservoir of emotion that is almost tipped where it was going to be a very bloody rage, and it's almost as if there is a chained beast that is inside of Genji that is just feels like it's so close to being able to just rip free and feast. Not an evil feel, but one you think that there's been a thirst that he has longed to sate for a while, and he feels very close to it.
Right. So kind of a split thing going on.
There's no stopping the beast. That's a great movie. I can't wait to see Glass.
Yeah.
Pretty
It's really good.
So do we have a good view of the crashed airship and any dead bodies or anything?
Yeah, there's a lot of dead bodies out there.
Can we
Or
see
pieces.
carrion birds or any wildlife?
You have not. Roll a perception check if you want to look for.
I'll help him look.
Please do.
Oh. So should I roll as well, or should he roll at advantage?
He can roll at advantage.
You got another one?
13.
13. So you can see, so if you remember, you were coming downhill, there was a decent sized drop off that they had built a fire close to, just to at least eliminate somewhat of a sight line. And they've dug down in to keep as much of the light from it from really getting out and publishing where they're at. As you look around, there are pieces of bodies that are strewn about, a lot of them cooked. You can see in the immediate area where remains were starting to be collected into a heap. But the backside furthest from the fire, you can see where that's been drug out and some of the flesh removed, and various pieces of bone as it goes out.
Okay.
But you're not sure if that's birds, ground crawlers, or really what's going on.
Okay. Any moans of the undead or anything?
With that roll, I mean you're almost getting used to it's like a fan that has a little bit of a squeak to it overhead. You know that it's always there, and if you make yourself listen for it, yep, there it is. But there's mostly to your south is where you're hearing it predominantly, but you've been hearing a slow groan.
You buried all the ninja stuff.
He just had his black pajamas and that was it. I kept his katana.
There was no water on him. There was no.
Did you strip him before you buried him?
Yeah. Well, not like take his clothes off.
I didn't take his clothes off.
He patted him down.
Yeah, I searched him. He didn't. To my knowledge, he didn't have anything on him.
I would have kept his clothes because I could have impersonated one.
Well, you're more than welcome to go dig the body up like a dirty SOB that you are.
Too late.
So what? With the time that it took to do all that and stuff, I mean, I'm assuming Captain Caracas and his crew were just kind of
Helping out.
Well, yeah, they're getting together different types of fruits and roots that they've collected around there, and have had a soup going, and so you guys are being offered hot food.
Nice.
While you guys are there, and it is awfully tasty.
what time of day is it?
It's getting late to
Almost
where it
like
was like late afternoon. So
Yeah.
to me, that's like around 5 p.m.
Okay.
But here, like it's really deep evening. So think of like winter hours,
3:45.
just because you've got all the different tree cover and then the mountain range to the west that you're starting to see the peaks raise up, as you guys can see here on the map.
So has oh man, I forgot her name. Our elf
Zandala.
Zandala. So she's already talked to these guys about whether or not her dad was on board. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
What was the conclusion there?
They had validated that indeed
They don't know where
Artisimber
he is.
had been on the boat, that he was at the bow of the ship.
That's right. So the other part of it.
So the other part of it, you don't know where he landed, you don't know if he's alive, and you guys really haven't talked that much about the attack to the crew.
Yeah. We don't. It's probably too late to head out tonight to chase the banners that we saw to the south. So we should probably rest with our friends here and head out for first light.
We'll probably use a little time to patch up our wounds.
We want to see if the ladies on Dala doesn't mind that we're going off chasing the green banner when she's just looking for her father.
Well, you seem to be enamored with her. You should probably have that.
Oh, that's right. I have a huge crush on her, and I'd rather not upset her. If one of you would like to broach the subject, I
No.
would suggest one of you do that.
No, my name is Valka. No, I will not.
Yeah, we know your fucking name, you twit.
Lady Zandala, my friends and I, in the morning we must make haste to the south. We've got to look into something in regards to our friend's missing sister.
Well, certainly, my ask is that we just continue in a southerly direction, for that is where the front bow of the vessel seemed to be listing towards, was to the south-southwest.
It seems that Kismet's going to keep you in our company for a bit longer.
Oh, bless you.
It'd be good to have another female around.
Yes.
That's
So
what
free.
ladies do,
I
right?
forgot. Yeah, they used to do that often, don't they? I forgot I was gonna wear a bra this week, so you guys remembered.
That'd be a great prop.
Oh my god.
It just turns into like an S&M game by the end of it. It's like, oh, you have the Gimp mask of fortitude.
Yeah, he's wearing a samurai mask and he's got a bra on. And we're gonna go in and
Put the ball game.
gonna go into -1 viewers.
I'm now in a cone of Cylon.
It's terrible.
The ball gag or So, Caracas and crew, I guess we appreciate your hospitality and the delicious food. I heard tell of a fine cook that came from
Le Cauldron Blue.
the cauldron.
The cool dog.
traveling caravan used to come through, more of a freak show, and they had a fantastic cook. But apparently he disappeared in some mist and no one ever heard from him again. Are you familiar with the Cauldron Blue, my gnomish friend?
So you're asking the no?
The cook, yeah.
And he goes, yes, I am. Yes. You guys may not know this, but I have a cousin who is named Mordecai, and Mordecai, he enjoys oddities and novelties. O&N is what they call it.
O&N.
That's fantastic. Cool. So I guess
Eat up, everyone.
yeah. While we're having the rest of dinner, then I'm just gonna do the perimeter of the camp and stuff, and I'm looking for more routes. I also want to look at if there's anything I can glean from how the ship operates, anything that's cool or interesting.
Okay. Do a nature check first.
Cool.
So we're still right down by the
12.
wreckage.
12 for the nature check.
Okay. The area is like the immediate area of the perimeter of the camp is mostly like foliage that was hit with the pieces as they hit the side of the hill and came rolling down towards Orwunga. So it's pretty sparse. You could venture out if you cared to.
Nope.
Okay.
Okay. That's how horror movies start.
Yeah.
Do I look like Drew Barrymore?
Well,
We live.
I mean now.
That was
I
that
get
was
it.
the
I
thing
get it.
about
That was good.
That was a two-edged sword. It was a cut at me and a cut at Drew Barrymore.
Damn, two for.
If you're
to
talking
do-
Drew Barrymore and the Wedding Singer, I would have been like, absolutely not.
Julia Gulia. So are you wanting to glean mechanical
Yep.
operation?
Yeah.
So then use this as like just a base intelligence check.
Yeah, 4.
They must have a really light wood, maybe, and you
That's
know,
about all I can get.
like a big palm leaf or something. How it'll come down slower. Maybe they've got some really light wood in some place, and you kind of make a mental note that you need to start checking through forested areas for how heavy the wood is.
Cool. I like wood. That's all I'm gonna do before nap time.
Okay.
I think we're gonna explain to the captain and these guys, not a huge amount of backstory, but just like our immediate plans. Like, hey, we're helping her look for her dad. As you mentioned, he's with the rest of the ship, but our friend thinks that some nefarious folks that might have kidnapped his sister are the ones that we just saw to the south. So first thing in the morning, we have to go investigate that while we make our way to the other part of your ship. If you want to come with us, we're inevitably investigating, the rest of your wreckage. If you guys want to come.
Well, I will tell you this: that I must find a way to either get back to the sea or find a way hitherforth. For I am not one that enjoys meandering as slow as molasses on a winter day, having to get through and try to make my way back so that we can earn money. This walking through and hacking and slashing through the foliage, it does not agree with me.
So you saying you're just gonna stay here?
I believe we will make our way to the river Soshenstar and see if we might procure passage to get back to the port at this time, for I fear we will need to ascertain what happened to the other end of the ship. So we would be more than obliged if you were to take us on. What we do not have in equipment here, as you see it strewn about, we may be able to locate, and I have this, and he holds up what looks like generic jailer's keys, but each individual key is very odd shaped. All of you would recognize, like, yeah, it's probably made out of metal the way that they clang together.
Mm-hmm.
But unless somebody wants to look a little bit further, it catches your attention.
I've seen those before. The young dwarfs, the parents hold them in the baby dwarfs and whack at them with their hands in their cribs.
Okay.
I've seen those before. It's quite nice that you have that still. But what's it for?
Well, what you see here is there are certain ways that you must
protect what you are taking, either as your cargo or protect from the less than, shall we say, savory fellows who may be buying passage on your vessel. I've got some enchanted lockboxes, and these will be the only way that someone, unless they are extremely powerful with the arcane arts, they shall not gain passage into it, though I have challenged many a scholarly type, and let's just say that those boys that are cut from the silky cloth cannot seem to make their way into my lockboxes.
I don't think he likes the cutting of the cloth.
So we'll have to do some tailoring on this.
So, to play it back in more comment on for those of us, you're going to travel with us to the south.
Yeah, so he's pretty much said, I've got lockboxes that are extremely valuable because of the enchantments on them to be able to just keep them locked. His either giving air passage for folks, getting chartered to do weird missions like this. There's a lot of nefarious characters that he deals with. He also outlines to you that there's certain cargoes that are extremely expensive that he doesn't want any hands getting tempted to try to get it. So going through and finding the lock boxes are important to him. So he was either going to go to the river and take that all the way back to Port Nyanzaru to start building another expedition to go out into to get it. But if you guys are already heading in that direction, because Zendala has said that she's after her father, then that's something that they would be interested in doing because of how capable you guys would appear to be and already going in that area.
And how would we find these lock boxes?
Well, I do not have a way to divine that off the bat, but you will be able to tell based upon types of creatures that frequent these jungles. There are some that are sensitive to the magical forces and the weave of the world. They will flock to them.
Yes.
And so,
yes.
Following the wildlife, we should be able to figure it out.
That sounds easy. I'm gonna roll my eyes.
So just to clarify, there's no lockboxes in this half of the ship. They were potentially all in the other. Okay.
And what was in the lock boxes, my friend?
Well, I had a few items that were requisitioned whenever we came across Artis and his Dragonbait, his companion there. Very strong, silent fellow. Never said much. Artis had a very cold demeanor about him. Icy grip whenever I shook the man's hand, whenever we struck our accord. He is very focused on doing something to either resurrect his wife or secure her passage back. Not in a nefarious way, Bronson. I assure you, Mr. Ball, that it is purely him trying to rescue her for some type of bondage, though as it was explained to us.
Have we heard this name before?
Our December?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Zendala, she said, I'm looking after I'm trying to find my dad.
Okay, and that's the guy.
And that's the
Got it.
guy.
Okay. Artis, A-R-T-I-S?
Yes. Cimber.
I'm gonna, while we're sitting here in the camera as he's talking and stuff, I want to ritual cast detect magic. So I'll just slowly, off to the side, do my somatic component.
Are you trying to mask the fact that you're doing this?
No, they can know that I'm casting a spell. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. So 10 minutes while everybody's talking. So as you, you're listening to the melodious tones of low voices, talking back and forth as it's more of a relaxed conversation. The edge taken out of a lot of voices. from what you've heard, but that starts to drown out as you are focusing more in on drawing the forces required to reach outside of your consciousness. And your breathing slows, very rhythmic, and your presence reaches out and around you. As it extends out, you see various and sundry trinkets that Captain Caracas has on him. So, he's a turtle with a big shell on there, and the shell has rings and things that are like a bull's nose ring, kind of wedged into the shell itself. This is only the second turtle you had ever seen. The first was a slave that you came across that the drow had taken in the Underdark, and they had ripped his shell from him. And so he was think about somebody who's been like severely burnt. That's how that tries to heal up as he went through. So finally seeing the shell that this turtle had told you about in the Underdark was something that is of interest to you, but you didn't realize how special it was until you start seeing all these different rings and baubles that are on different elements of his shell. They seem to have some magical capability to them.
Is it various schools of magic or a specific school?
You're getting various on there. There's heavily towards abjuration.
Okay.
You don't really. Doesn't seem to be any type of necromantic magic except for on a ring. You think it's a ring because it's coming from his left hand.
Okay. Awesome. So bedtime?
I'd like to ask Sindel if she knows anything about this ring that I happened to find.
Okay.
I think it was on the ogre. It was in that encounter, but I can't remember exactly who I got this off of.
Okay.
Yeah. So she sits down and starts looking at it and looks back at you and says,
Well, you do know that there are various tribes of the elves that cover all over this area. And as she starts talking, if you can think of a map, Lantern and up north, you would know this from your study at the academy. So a long time ago, the elves were trying to make their own kind of plane of existence and get away from the troubles of the common world. And whenever they did that, it's almost like a lost city of Atlantis, where a huge portion of the area vanished, and nobody knows like what the heck happened. So there's an isthmus that used to separate these two areas, and now it's a huge ocean because the land has disappeared. Some of the tribes that are marooned off in the different areas trace their lineage back up into this, and so you knew about the geological event of it. You didn't know about the elven culture element to it, but she's got she's elven, so she starts explaining this to you, and it's a signet ring from one of the houses.
Okay. Did the sinking of Atlantis happen to correspond with like a sundering or anything?
This was way before that.
Okay. Okay. Do you happen to know like which tribe or anything this belonged to, or is it just sort of like
It's
a symbol?
like you wouldn't know a family name outside of like Ptolemy for Egyptian cultures, kind of the same
Okay.
thing, if you want to think about it that way.
Well, I shall hang on to this ancient treasure then. Let's see if we can find a better use for it.
Certainly.
Are there any trees around us?
Yeah, you're surrounded by trees.
I'll just. You guys are gonna start to go to sleep,
Yeah, we'll need to set a watch schedule.
so I'll take the first watch, and I'll just go up and like crawl up the tree and start playing my lute, like a nice tune to kind of get the morale up and get everybody.
Roll a performance check.
15 plus 11.
So, also, as you are reaching out, and you're really focusing on Captain Caracas, the melodious tune that starts coming from his lute is almost like background noise that's slightly annoying. Not from the way that he's playing, but you focusing on magic because they have the notes that he has that are coming out. But then you feel from the pyramid in Oralunga almost like an imbuing of power thrusting itself forth into
It's like warm hands sweeping
your
down
personage,
and making you feel
grinding
so
across
good.
your flesh.
Oh, that
Ample,
deep rub.
yes.
Yes.
Yes, gyrating.
But you feel it actually reaching out, and you guys notice that the size and how vibrant the notes and the shapes that are coming off of this seem to be, it's almost like there's an amplifier around there. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Of
Yeah.
love
You doing anything else in the tree besides playing?
and watching.
As he climbs the tree, and I cut you off, I'm sorry.
Genji, if you take this, you can boil it down to a paste, and if you can get that in old Valker, I'll have to dance uncontrollably for a few minutes.
I give him the the
Dancing monkey fruit?
the two doses of dancing monkey fruit that I
Okay.
have. And I'm trying to do that if he's not looking at us directly.
Give me a self check.
Oh, I'm jamming too.
14.
Yeah, I'd say that you're hearing him be more in the moment with himself than really focusing on any side conversation.
So you get two things of
Classic
dancing
bar.
monkey fruit. So I don't
Okay.
know what. All I had been told was I'd just been told how to identify it. I don't know how to prepare it properly. But I mean, worst case scenario.
What's that, you two? A different song?
Is the gnome chef still up and about?
Yeah.
I would like to consult with him.
What can I do for you?
So I have a fruit that is beneficial for the party morale, and I would like to increase potency. I only have 2. What kind of you have?
Oh, you like to party, I see. I think we're gonna be friends. Yeah, bring him on over here to my pot.
My name is Genji, and I like to party.
My name is Genji as well, and I too like to party.
What?
Wait, what?
Well, that's my thing.
Wait,
Why can't it be my thing too?
No, so you see him snickering, and you see this mischievous look light up his eyes, and he waddles on over real quick, and you got to think of like who's it, Ralphie Wiggins on The Simpsons.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is pretty much like my eyes bleeding. Is the inspiration of this little portly gnome.
Terrible.
And so he's like, yeah, come on over here. And you guys go over, and he's got like this tackle box that as he opens it up, there's gears that are moving it in different directions, and spice rack, spice rack, spice rack, spice rack, spice
He's
rack.
got like a gnome tinker spice caboodle.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And so it displays out everywhere, and he's like, if you're really wanting to do this right, you seem like the guy that really wants to. And he starts, combining things together, and he says, yes, Genji, and he's looking over here. He goes, if you wouldn't mind putting that pot onto the fire so we can have glaze properly done. Don't let it get too hot. If it starts to skin over, stir it. Over there at the fire, Genji.
Okay. Well, I'll do what he says. I'll take it over there.
Worst co-conspirator ever.
And so yeah, he's you guys look over at him, and he's like just sitting there kind of giggling, real bouncing around, and he's pumped up.
Oh,
Okay.
boy.
Cool.
Bronson's gonna check with the captain, the turtle, and go. We're gonna be getting an early march on first thing. Is there anything supplies-wise I can help you find in the ship, in the wreckage that we might need for the road? Weapons, armaments, potions, flammables, explosives, rope. tackles, pitons? You got any? Maybe you got some caltrops. Might have some, maybe a tripwire too. Some, maybe a bell trap. You got any of them?
You see a very
slingshot?
slow head nod.
You got any blow dots? Maybe a bigger slingshot might be nice. You got any bows and arrows, crossbows, hand bows, short bows, long bows? You got any maybe knives, blades, daggers, darts? You got any spears? Maybe a lance?
Yeah.
Covering all the bases.
I hear that you are not a fan of the halberd. You did not list it off in your exhaustive requisition
And he
list.
goes, swords, scimitars, you got any? Alphabetically at that point, he's like going through the whole alphabet, listing off weapons.
And he says,
Bronson knows a ton of
yeah.
weapons, right? So he's
Yeah.
just like listing off, like, at this point, he's getting excited.
Yeah,
for
but
himself.
like the street names is what I envision this where
Yeah, he's
he's
got-
like knuckle dusters and stuff like that.
Volley tacklers, you got me those. Yeah, he's listing
So
off all of
he's
these
going
weapons.
through back and forth, and as you look across Knocker, those of you who are down around the fire, maybe was like a low-level enforcer himself one day, because as you're listing off the street names, you're almost seeing him reminisce, where he's like,
They're looking at scars on his knuckles.
Yeah.
That's
And so
great.
you guys notice that as they're going through it. So this, real exhaustive going through, and you're seeing Caracas almost in the back of his head. He's reading the manifest of things going down, and you're seeing him contemplating. And he says, well, that is, if we are going to be leaving the area, then I do recommend that we comb through the main part of the. And it's not a fucking Aft Castle. I need a goddamn nautical sheet.
You need
The forecastle?
Yeah, the Travis's.
Yeah, the Travis binder.
Yeah.
I'll look it up real quick. It was it's where the officer quarters are.
I'll help him search.
Yeah, so basically he's saying that that area where the majority of his maps, the majority of his star charts and equipment, that's where the dragon came out of the clouds, and so
Quarter galleries.
yeah. That would the quarter galleys got the worst of it from the opening salvo from that fire-breathing lizard. As they burned, we tried to make our way to secure some of the valuables, and I was only able to procure my accoutrement through the generous aid of Pocampo, as he was able to go through and select those from my cabin while I was fighting the ship. As we went down, there could be a mass of our armory. They had some of our healing capabilities and some of the martial highlights of life.
Bronson's mustache is uncurling and he's so excited.
So yes, let us venture forth, Knocker, if you would, please. And so those two stand up and start walking their way. From where you guys are at, think about like Jakku and Force Awakens. Not necessarily the size of the Star Destroyer, but the way, imagine that but set in a jungle setting where there's this huge wreck and it is in all kinds of pieces. Because this was a very large ship for that big of a dragon to be like grabbed on and like rooting around inside of it. That has to be a pretty massive ship.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of wreckage that's down and around there. And so they stand up to start moving forward towards where some of the bigger pieces are. Anybody outside of Bronson going to go with?
How much time do we have before watches start and all that?
We're winding
It's
down.
up to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go
I
ahead and
have
help
the
out.
first watch.
I'll go ahead and help out because I need to. I'd be interested to see if they have anything to counteract the effects of poison with potions.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm going to need that.
Go back and forth.
All right, so then let's do first a survival check.
Oh,
I can offer assistance to
Yeah.
somebody. So
is that for me? Or
Whoever's got
who's
the
doing
best-
it?
For the party,
Whoever thinks they're the best
who all's
at survival.
going out there.
Yeah, I will stand back.
Does he
Okay.
get any motivation from my?
Are you giving him a bardic inspiration?
No, but I'm playing the song.
pretty good.
Hey, give him a fucking bardic inspiration. Be like, lads, I hope you find some good things. Like,
Find your goodies. Sora, Sora.
We're hitting up. Oh yeah, we're out of that.
Did you go? Did you go?
All right, I'll give you one.
I did.
Wait, you're
Okay.
rolling
I
it,
am.
right?
No, he is.
Tim's rolling it.
No, Mike is.
Mike's
Survival
rolling.
check. What is he doing?
You guys are doing a survival check to make sure that everybody in this low light jaunt that you guys are going on, that you're able to everybody stay together.
I'll give you a D6.
Okay.
You don't have to use it, right?
Yeah.
So
Just after you roll, but before you know the results.
Correct.
So you're rolling at advantage, but don't roll the d6 with it, because that means you're gonna burn it. Yeah.
So
Don't burn it.
Survival check at advantage.
Natty 20.
Let's get this man some beautiful beans.
how did nat 20s work, DM?
Well, here at
Not Face Incorporated.
whenever somebody rolls a critical success or a critical failure, we have an alcohol tax that must be levied. This is a recognized tax. This is a very legal tax.
Like they're so far behind.
Yeah.
Yes.
Couple.
And what we have right now on Showcase for natural 20s, critical successes, through very loud voting of one member of our party, Got Rubs, Gut Rot. I can assist with that.
Yeah.
Do you have
It's,
the iron grip?
Sealed. Yeah, there you go.
Well, it's the paste that he
Leave
put
it to
in
the
that.
sailor. He's used to tying knots. and
That's it.
An uncorked
Long
grog
deployment,
bottles.
was it?
Careless as
I find it interesting that you're so practiced at
Yeah.
this type of motion.
Ooh, the stranger.
Western.
And we are mixing in the drink of
Texas.
choice, and that this was all that we had over there.
Choice?
Wild Tiger
It's a choice.
to get total
It
activation.
is a choice.
So yeah,
Oh,
please
that
add it
smell
too.
is
And
rancid.
Goblin's Gut Rot is made of goblins by for goblins by Gut Rot, and it is exactly the color of the rivers the guys find themselves sailing through.
In chunks.
Whenever we get to natural
Turn the
ones
Turn the fan off.
and getting getting critical fails, then we have the Captain's Poop Deck, which is a delectable bouquet of happiness.
Lies.
No, it's not.
It makes people smile.
Oh, it definitely makes you
It looks a
smile.
little thin though. I can see
Delicious.
right through it.
It does make people smile. The people who aren't drinking it, and watch somebody drink it, are always entertained.
So there
It's
is
the end of the show.
a good decent amount of hazing that we do here, but it's good for morale. So with your natural 20, you're able to conjure lights that are kind of hovering around each individual to aid in your search of the wreckage, but it's almost like a hooded lamp, so you're not broadcasting out for predators and the like to see. So everybody, you're going to get advantage on your individual investigation checks through that.
Very nice.
Yeah. So you guys start looking through. If you were going to prioritize, and this is a question we'll go to each of you who went out there, do you prioritize trying to find big items like a granary
There you go.
that would have, like a big bag of flour or something like foodstuffs? Are you prioritizing equipment? What are you prioritizing as you're looking through trying to find stuff?
Any items or potions that will help me combat the effects of poison.
Okay.
I'm looking for papers, documents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keys. Bronson's looking specifically for caltrops and trap wires and explosives.
Okay.
Like
Inside some scimitas.
So,
like guerrilla, like medieval guerrilla warfare. Like he's trying to set up predator traps type deal. Is what he's
basically,
doing.
this is
Like-
First Blood.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
He's like looking for like leather
barrels of
straps and
dynamite.
like if he like ideally what he wants to find is like tripwire with bells on it and then like leather straps and a leather booklet full of like throwing knives type deal or something like that, where he would make like bury him in the side of a tree, use a tripwire to make it into a trap type thing. He's looking for stuff that's like for jungle combat that he doesn't already have.
Okay. So let's start with you, Genji. If you wouldn't mind rolling an advantage investigation check.
Looks like that 6 and is that a 9? No, 10. Total of 10.
So Genji and Knocker start going through a pretty good sized piece of the wreckage. You can see this is probably some of the crew bunks. And every single doorway that Knocker walks through, he pounds on the door and then walks through. You find that odd. You walk through, and as you're looking in, you find an acid vial with some acid in there.
Dope.
And you find... What the fuck's that I gotta do?
More alchemist fire. Alchemist fire is always fun.
There should be one in there, yeah?
We have some already.
Yeah, I have one. It's not very strong, but it does do continual damage every turn. So that if the fight goes long, it adds up. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, it's
He's
useless
got
against
one already.
Little
Okay.
mobs, but against a boss,
That might be why you don't have one.
Looking for it.
Yeah.
Boys,
that matters.
And
And, anything that
any
any fire
toxin.
kill, like
Antitoxin,
holes
yeah.
and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
there you
That
go.
won't drop without
Self-healing.
fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you find 2 charges of antitoxin,
Nice.
and you find an acid vial as well.
Okay.
And your alchemy skill jumps up 1 point.
Okay.
And yeah, you guys spend probably about an hour going through. You're trying to be cognizant of we don't want to stay out here too late. And then, also be able to execute your rest plan to make an expeditious movement down after the banners.
Investigate.
Let's see
Don't
what you have,
forget,
Jotun.
don't forget your bardic. So you can roll this and then your bardic.
Ooh, that is a 23.
Wow.
So go ahead and roll your bardic, because it's use it or lose it for how long you're going to keep it.
Oh yeah, that's true. Is it an hour?
It's a minute.
It's a minute.
Oh!
So
29. Good damn.
Ooh. Mind you, I found a spell book.
What?
Oh!
Hardcore.
Essential for wizards. Leather-bound tome with 100 blank valium pages, suitable for recording spells.
And
Yeah, but it has a fucking eye on the front of it that's blinking.
well, no. So let me describe the art on the front of this. You see clouds that disperse, and then what looks to be maybe the light source of it, because it's not colored. It's just the way that the leather has been polished to where it looks like you're not sure if it's made out of wood, the cover, or if it's leather. Because certain areas look very plush and everything like that, and other parts look like they're wooden. And so the clouds billow out, and the light source is polished leather, and these clouds almost look like they were etched out of stone or carved out of wood, just because of how crazily they come out. And you see what looks like a beam of light or a meteor that looks like it's coming in and crashing. And if you've seen the like Tunguska meteorite explosion, how all the trees in a circle are all blown out and away, you're seeing that down on the ground as well.
So upon showing this to the captain once we return, does he recognize this?
And you see Captain Caracas' eyes. Yes, that was located within my personal cabin. I do not know exactly what this scene is supposed to represent, but the writing on the pages, only at the midnight hour have I been able to see any writing come up on any of the pages. They look blank to me, but at the stroke of midnight nightly, there always seems to be writing that appears there in a blue and red, almost subdued fire within the page. The page does not become hot to the touch, however, and so I do not know how to speak or read this language, so is this something that you might know something about?
If you'll allow me, I would do well to study this even this evening, if we have time. I can tell you what I find.
Certainly. So he hands that over to you. And then as you guys are rummaging around through a few other areas, you're hearing a and it seems to be going around like what's left of a hallway, and it seems to be getting closer and closer and closer, and then the kind of doorway area that you're in, you hear boom, 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 and Knocker and Genji, oh, beautiful. Knocker and Genji come walking in and join you and Captain Caracas.
Okay.
Go ahead and roll your investigation check.
That will be a investigation 13.
Okay. So as you were looking through, Bronson and Pocampo start rummaging around, and you guys open up and you see different pouches with old dried up looking flowers, and you're like,
Yeah. Not an
and
alchemist, yeah.
and Poe's kind of running, scrambling. Oh yeah, grabbing and like shoving into these bags and stuff like that. And then you come across this trifold leather piece, and it's tied with a kind of reddish leather strap.
Mm-hmm.
And you see Poe, his eyes get kind of big and was like, "Oh, that's where that's been hiding."
I'll open it up.
And you see this like well-used torturer's kit.
Oh God, that's awesome.
And you see that the blades in it are extremely sharp,
Jesus.
but extremely like muddled brown in
gross.
certain areas. And in there, make another investigation check.
5.
He's not finding anything.
Yeah, so you're patting around in that, and you can't tell like how thick the leather is. It just kind of feels heavier than what it should be.
Interesting. Okay.
What's Poe's middle name? Pot?
It's funny.
So Bronson is looking through and goes, "Is this yours, little one?"
Well, you see, the thing about it is, we have.
And he goes, "I like it." He goes, "But it's mine now if you don't mind."
Well, yeah,
We can just keep this between us.
I wouldn't mind if I had that back.
Okay, I'll give it to him.
And you see him like, put it away. Make a perception check.
12.
Poop deck, please.
Hooray!
Passive perception's 15.
Yeah, so as he is putting it away, a pouch drops out of the kit, hits the ground,
Spills teeth everywhere.
and opens it up close.
Eyeballs.
Yeah.
You look out and you see strewn about you, and in a pretty bag like this,
Yeah.
bustling full, and this thing lands like this, and out come the fingernails and toenails of, you're guessing, 5 different species
Oh.
of humanoid.
There's a bunch of nails he pulled off people.
Is it the entire nail?
Oh.
With the nail bed still kind of attached, where it almost looks like Mario Brothers, whenever you'd pull like radishes and stuff out, and you've got like the little bit of
That's disgusting.
root structure coming out off
That's
of it.
horrible.
He's talented.
Yeah.
I mean, you just hate to lose, your records. Probably need to hold on to these, right? Okay, yeah. I'll just Yep, just scooping these up.
And Bronson goes, "Who right out?" And he walks off, and his eyes are super large. And he mutters, "What was in that fucking stew earlier?"
Oh god.
I
Pass
also
those
love
down.
how he sounds like Mickey Mouse. 'Cause, yeah.
And I'm gonna hand this over to him as fine when I come around as well. Say, "Oh, I find something for your traps."
Boom, boom, boom.
Beautiful.
All right. So about an hour and a half later, the party comes up and they've returned, and Jotun effortlessly, with a little bit of flourish, waves off the lights, and the lights, evaporate into almost like a little bit of smoke. You're hearing the sound of large dinosaurs in the area, the melodic drone of herbivores, but you seem to think maybe you have heard a few roars of some type of predator making kills not too far out to your west.
Lads.
Are we on our first watch?
Yeah, you're on yours, so go ahead and give me a perception check.
12.
So looking back, all you can see... No.
Look at the finger wagging. The finger wagging.
No.
No, don't do it.
All right. So you're hearing what sounds like maybe a small herd of... you assume herbivores because of like the long groans. There may be a small herd somewhere near that are moving about, and you hear pained call-outs every now and then from prey being taken, and you hear the as one's being taken.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, thank you.
That was quite good. You played well.
Wow.
Okay.
Do we find Owen Wilson?
It's so contagious. If one person does that, you can't let a moment pass without doing it yourself. Like, oh, are we? Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Don't want to be left out.
All right, so, but that's all you've really noticed throughout the night. Yeah.
How late do I go?
So did I find 2 additional potions?
So you probably started right around, we'll say 7-ish. Is enough time for everybody to have those conversations and start getting everything going. So 8 hours from there to be able to execute a long rest, unless you guys just want to do a short rest and head forth.
Yeah, long rest. I'll go till 10 and then I'll wake up Jotun.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll have my watch, but I also want to, pay attention to this come midnight. So.
Okay. So I'm going to increase the difficulty class of your perception check.
Okay.
So go ahead and roll that.
Are you singing the truth with names?
Yeah.
I was about to compliment your dice, and then I realized I got them for you.
You did.
I was like, those are nice. And I was like, oh, I picked them. Those are great.
5.
All right.
No, that one's better. It was a 25.
Didn't realize that. No, so you're going through looking at the book. The first hour goes by, and you're pretty diligent on your walking around, and you're going through and recanting spell phrasings, and trying to make sure that your gestures are on par.
Figure out those Latin roots.
Yeah, exactly. And where can I do a flick to get a little bit more emphasis, tap a little bit more into it. 11 o'clock comes around because you said you gave it up at 10.
10, yeah.
Yeah. So you make it to 11. Nothing's going wrong. You hear wind start gusting up a little bit, and a slight fog is starting to settle down through the valley, and that is, you haven't noticed this kind of a fog yet.
Sounds foggy.
Yeah.
Sounds perfect.
The book, however, as you're moving into your third hour of watch, you hear a high-pitched and almost like a knife cutting through a very fluffy piece of cake. Light comes through from one of the moons circling overhead and cuts through the fog that is settled through, and you feel a hum in your hands. The sweetest concoction that you've ever drank, like a real sugary, delicious treat.
Vermont syrup.
Yeah, something like that. Your palate is wet with anticipation of magical power. Your senses are heightened. You are filled with pleasure as true power is coming from that moon down into the book itself. And you're seeing what almost looks like a slight smoke. So if you remember like the really old Walt Disney cartoons, whenever they were like just getting into first doing color, the way that they did apparitions, think of that coming off this. And wherever this object that's plunging down towards the landmass at the bottom, where that is hit and the rubble's coming out, you're almost as if the scene is living there before you. Do you open the book?
I'm going to wait.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll wait.
All right. So the end of your watch. I'm assuming you're.
Mhm.
Yeah. So the end of your watch comes as we're approaching 1 a.m. Who's taking third watch?
I'll take it.
Please roll a perception check.
20. Nat 20.
You
Plus
are
5.
fucking lucky. So
God damn it.
as
Oh, great.
Hackledy dackledy do.
Daggledy daggledy
Time to get at least some amount of activated.
So as you
That's the new marketing campaign. Drink Tiger's blood. Get some a level of activation.
That's what happens when you only have some of a can. It's not total
it's not
activation.
total activation.
you are feeling very much rested. And you know, like whenever you've been drinking a lot and you get that like really greasy meal the next day, like how you instantly have felt better. You feel like all the bananas that you had eaten have finally been evacuated yesterday. And
Oh,
the
thank
bubble
God.
guts that it's been causing has been so uncomfortable as every single time you hear like a little bit of you look over at Zendala and you're like, did she notice that? And you feel like the Bee Gees have passed. You were so elated that you're like, instead of just propped up, just kind of passively listening, I'm going to make a little bit of a walk around.
Yeah, making the rounds, yeah.
And as you walk around, you're starting to see a metallic glint off of some of the trees to your south.
Initiative. No.
That is very, very faint.
Ah! I love
So
it.
you pop those things down,
Yeah.
and you are seeing in the trees
Uh-huh.
these like you've seen kiwi birds before.
Uh-huh.
Kind of that, like those koosh balls with the little dangly tentacle things on them. You're seeing these things with metallic blades coming out of them, and they are in almost like miniature crossbow traps that
Holy
are
shit.
pointed directly at you guys, and what you think would be your anticipated egress route out of the area if you were to give direct chase.
Wow. Okay. So, upon seeing that and realizing what he's looking at to some degree, Bronson's gonna tiptoe back. Mostly, I mean, he's not gonna be very stealthy necessarily, but like super watching his step because now he's worried about tripwires too, right? And then get back, but he's not gonna. He's gonna let everybody finish their rest, and make absolutely sure nobody gets up to go take a leak without him telling them first necessarily about what he's found. But he doesn't want to alert anybody and ruin their sleep. Let everybody get their rest. But then when it's time to wake up, that's the first thing he's going to tell
Okay.
people.
So your 3 hours pass by, and you have made a very clear mental accounting
Yeah, of where and what he saw.
of where and how all of them are positioned.
Yep.
And you've studied it enough to know that the immediate area around your camp is fine, but it's almost as if, a game designer has put up, here's the distance of the fog of war.
Yeah. Just
Right
outside.
at that line is exactly where it starts hitting. And so you think that in the hours prior to you waking up to take your watch, that the area had been infiltrated
Yeah.
and
trapped.
trapped deliberately.
Yeah, like scouts fell back, set up traps so they couldn't be followed. Yep. Okay. I was third watch, or there 4, or is that the last
Third.
watch?
He's always the last watch.
Okay.
He has to do his prayers.
So I'm gonna hand that information off to you.
Okay.
During your watch, you can go and investigate or do whatever you want, but basically go, lad, it's your watch. Crossbow traps in the trees to the south. Looks like it's set up recently. Think somebody from the column that we saw traveling, they fell back and set up traps to catch us as we leave. First thing we're gonna want to do when the lads wake up is clear those out. Take them for ourselves. I like crossbows. I like arrows. I like short bows, long bows. He starts listing up.
Yeah, all those.
Caltrop traps. Yeah, love tripwires. Big fan of tripwires. And yeah, tell them
Butterfly
about all
shrimp, fried shrimp.
that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Does
then
that sound like typical Jade Clan shenanigans to me?
Not necessarily shenanigans, because shenanigans are kooky and sweet.
Hijinks?
These shenanigans are tragic and cruel.
Tomfoolery?
Sad.
Tomfoolery, better. Yeah.
It's also a restaurant with a bunch of
Balderdash.
shit.
Oh.
Welcome to shenanigans. But does that sound like something that the Jade Clan has been known for when I've been
Ninja across all of Kazakura would be using these. You know of a winter festival where certain seats were targeted, and almost an entire family house was eliminated in one evening. And you know that in a short amount of time they have the ability to trap very precise ways to go through and make it look like it was an attack versus like actual people just taking shots at whoever, as opposed to put your leg down. There you go. As opposed to it being anything in particular. Hey, don't kick that down, dude. You're gonna knock my computer down. You wanna go see Uncle Dave? Go see Uncle Dave. You wanna climb up here again? Use your words. Oh no, she's got her snarl. This is her tough look.
Real tough.
Tough. So you can go through and you realize that there's a decent amount of natural equipment, and what I mean by that is like using the environment in order to create the trap itself, as opposed to like, here's a bear trap, stick the pin in and set it there on the ground. That they're able to, there's almost a beauty to it.
There's like branches pulled into the
branches
side,
that are pulled, and so just their natural motion is what they need to power a lot of these traps. And so you can see that there's elements that you could get to do further trapping yourself should you want to, just not a huge amount based upon the amount of damage that was about to be inflicted on you guys if you fell into the ambush.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Watch concludes. Are we waking
Good to
up?
know.
Yeah,
Cool.
it's a new day.
Long rest completed.
Long rest complete.
So yeah, meet up with Genji and let the rest of the group know.
And in one of the most, probably the single greatest natural 20 timeliness,
Fantastic.
you guys were going to get boogered off of that 5.
As everyone starts to wake up, I'm gonna walk around and start salving people up with insect repellent.
Yep.
Okay.
Salving them up. Salving our problems.
I'm just doing us
As long as
5.
up there.
I'm not doing.
Source of salvation.
I'm not doing the rest of the crew.
I'm gonna
She got it.
tell
Covered.
tell everybody about the traps, but also
Mama's out that way.
pay specific mind tellings on Dala and see if she has any interest. Actually, no, we don't necessarily want to burn magic to get those traps down. Just basically rally the troops and be like, we got the best climbers, the most dexterous folks among us. You don't want to get in those trees, disarm those traps, and I'd really like me a free crossbow too, if you don't mind.
So Volker welcomes the chance to go up there. Whenever he gets back, we'll have him do a sleight of hand check to be able to
He's our
disarm.
rogue.
Well, that and he's got the spider silk or the
Yeah,
you
you
know,
just
the,
walk right up the side, yeah.
being able to
The
spider
boots of
climb.
spider climb or whatever.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk to the captain about the glowing book.
Okay.
And just describe sort of what happened and see if there's, does this gel with his experience? Has he seen this before?
Oh, why, yes, Jotun. I appreciate you, Master Aegis, taking a gander there and trying to ascertain what might be able to come of this artifact that I had uncovered within the jungles on a previous venture, where we sallied forth from Port Nain Zaru. And he says, that's exactly what he had seen. He opened it up, and it was like where your eyes went as you're reviewing it, like the page was glowing, and wherever your eyes went, words were burning to the surface and then sinking back in.
Whoa.
So this may require some more study, but I didn't want to I don't know, go past my limits without consulting you first to see if this had been your experience. But
Certainly.
I think perhaps another night I'd be able to study this further and see if I can't uncover some secrets.
And he spits in his hand and says, whatever fortunes that this may bring, we shall split them 70-30.
70-30.
Fair enough. The intrigue alone has me titillated, so
Well,
I'll accept your...
make sure that you are not titillating in front of these fine ladies. And good morning to you, girls. How find you this morning? Did you rest well?
I did. I didn't have a watch for the first time in a while, so that felt good.
Master Valka, I noticed you munching on a hole over there. Have you had your hardtack this
Yes.
morning?
My name is Valka. And the campfire is warm and delightful.
It certainly is.
I'll take a huge drink of water.
And
Gross.
Captain Caracas also looks up and points over, and you guys look and see that at some point during the night as well, the vast majority of the gore that was piled up of all the body parts that they had kind of policed out, you see bones strewn about, but no meat left on them anymore.
Whoa.
Don't you
What?
eat ants?
You got fed on overnight?
Yeah.
That's great.
The jungle.
So should we head out post haste to the south to see if we can?
Yes, we should head out with greatest possible speed.
So it is. It's still dark out.
Yeah, it's pre-sunrise.
Yeah,
It's
so
barely-
you guys would be, what, 7 was whenever you guys started, so 3 a.m. Is about what time it is right
Oh,
now.
wow.
3:30 in the morning. So
I thought it was midnight when he took over watch.
No, I
Yeah.
started at
7 to 10.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
7 to 10, 10 to 1. Well, but that would put me, what, 1 to 3?
Let's just say whatever.
So it's like
Whatever.
it's still pre-dawn.
Yeah.
Can you disarm those traps with the light detectors, or do you need a light source?
I think I have dark vision.
You do. You're an Azamar.
Yeah. So I'll climb the tree and start working on the traps.
Okay. I need a overall investigation check, and this is going to be based upon Bronson pointing out where things are at, how you're able to.
Specific rundown of what trees where,
Yeah.
how high.
So you're giving me a.
You know where you're going to find the traps.
And I'm within 15 feet of him at all times. I'm not
Ooh.
dealing with traps. I'm just
Okay.
close enough to
catch him if he falls out of the tree.
Well, the arrows in his inner shield.
I'm
Any other projectiles?
gonna bust out the candle of continual flame out of my pack. And then kind of like where can I set it? Like I'll set it in each tree. I'll go set it while I'm like looking.
I get a better idea.
You burn
Like,
the
I
forest
see. I
down.
see you messing with this. What you're trying
Well,
to.
You're in
Siren?
treetops and playing with fire.
Yeah. Well,
No,
it
it
doesn't
doesn't
give
count
off
as fire.
any flame or
Oh,
fire.
really?
It
Okay.
just gives
Yeah.
off light. I see what you're doing, and I pick up like a couple of twigs and cast light on them.
Okay.
And then just like put them like
Glow sticks.
glow sticks on your shoulders.
And he doesn't need to climb the tree, right? He can just walk up the side.
So you feel
he's
like
just
you're-
raving.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah,
just-
they're dangling down, crossing back and forth. You're like, whoa, look at the
And I'm
dancing light.
I'm gonna knock them off. And then I'm gonna cast lightning. I'm gonna cast light on the small dragon scale I have and put it in my eye. And hold on to
Ooh.
it. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
listen
So
to
it's
the
like-
root sandstorm.
All right.
And then I'll do a weird wink back at her with
I'm
my
gonna
good
dispel
eye.
light on the things that drop on the ground. So just draw attention to them.
Okay.
What is happening?
So you guys are seeing like what looks like zip, 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 these lights going on and off over there.
It's a
They're having
magic
a light
off.
fight.
Yeah.
It's a magic off.
So yeah, give me an investigation check.
At
I'll-
advantage because of him.
Steve, if you're still watching, I'm very hungover.
Steve watching.
Steve texted me like, "Pay attention." Nice goggles.
Yeah, I don't know who's Stev.
Steph. Steph's actor.
Step's such a good name.
Steph.
Do
Would
I
it
get
be better if
advantage
it was
'cause
Vev?
Better than Vess. Vess.
He's like,
Vess
I don't
or
understand names that don't start with V's. It
Yeah.
just makes no sense to me.
Advantage. Roll an advantage with him.
Yeah.
With him. Investigation. All right. 13 plus 4 is 17.
Do we get chat up here? If there was chat?
Yeah. All right.
Nobody likes to chat.
So you guys are going in like a two-person team, you and Glaz.
Yep.
And Glaz is focused more on, all right, so if you're taking steps here to here to here, this is where you could get shot from. You've done a good job at kind of getting an idea of what the trajectories would be. So it looks kind of like a CSI scene in your head where, here's
Is Ice-T here?
the bullet path. Somebody done got killed.
More of a David. What's his name?
Caruso?
Caruso.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm here to make a point.
Yeah. Some kind of a prickly situation.
Standing outside of the fire.
So, you go through. Give me a sleight of hand check to start for like your base level disarmament.
Single D20?
Yeah.
Because it's mine?
Yeah, this is you guy.
This is going to be what?
Sleight of hand or dexterity.
And what am I? You said it's the overall.
This is like for you doing this task overall, and then
Okay.
based upon that, we'll adjudicate what happens depending upon what you end up rolling and which
Okay.
classification
I'm going to kind
that
of
falls
sell
into.
myself up internally to give myself a bardic inspiration back. I can do this, for I am
I'm
the
a
controller
bard.
of cards, the master of terror. The deftness of my hands is unmatched, is what she said.
Ow.
Alright, sleight of hand. 5 plus 12 is 17 plus my 1.
All right.
Yeah.
So you're able to go through and you see that these were not any type of secondarily trapped. It was a get in, set this up, and the feeling you get from your intuition on this is that this was a test. How much do we need to worry about this force that appears to be following us? And in talking with Genji thinks it would have been covered a little bit more, harder to perceive.
If they took us more seriously?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So her and I will kind of have this
Insult
conversation.
to injury. They think not only do they steal her friend's sister, but they put these half-ass traps out there.
They don't know who they're
Jones
messing
my
with.
throat.
All right. So you're able to come down and.
Get a crossbow for.
So think about this not as a crossbow.
Sure.
Think about this as like a mobile piece of equipment that can be used as like a set and release slingshot type
Great.
thing. I don't know how you would term it. It's in the Adventures in the Orient book.
Interesting.
So I'd have to get them, but you have 3 of these traps
Okay.
that you can load these pretty much like blowgun darts. That was the koosh ball that's coming off is what it does to stabilize itself in the air to
Oh, interesting.
be able to hit.
So I'll call it an improvised slingshot trap for purpose of.
And you'll have 3 of those now from you taking them down. You take down probably 17 to 18 because one of you guys, if you had hit, was going to have to roll a d20, and then however many of those or how many darts hit. Yeah.
Ouch.
Oh boy. Lee, TPKs. Let's do that. So that probably took us a bit of time, yeah?
Yeah, so you're probably approaching 5 a.m. right now.
Okay. So our friend here, Valkyr, the rogue, has cleared the path of traps for us, so once the sun comes up, we should probably head out and make haste.
If you trying to close the distance, would it not make more sense for us to sally forth now that the way has been cleared?
I agree.
Let's go.
And
No time like the present.
Knocker, you can see him, and he's starting to stretch. And you realize that as he's kind of pulling in different directions, every single part of his body cracks. And it's weathered, it's been beaten. You see callus built up on the front of knuckles. This guy's been through the ringer in the past, and he's itching for a fight.
Would you say he looks like Chuck Liddell in his last fight?
No, he looks like he could hurt people.
Sorry, Chuck.
Please don't find us and kill us. Or hurt us even.
I'd say that.
He's great. So,
Okay.
marching order then?
Yeah, let me see it.
I'll be up front.
Yeah, it's the 3 of us up front, right?
Yeah, I'm
I'll
going.
come too.
I'm going to set a vigorous pace
Vigorous.
because I am anxious.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we got up early, right?
Yeah. Gotta try to keep.
We've got to catch up time, yeah.
Valkyr, I'm assuming you're in the rear.
with the gear.
Where's Knocker? Which one's Knocker?
This is
Oh, the big guy. Okay.
Is that-
Baywatch?
Isn't that what that song's from?
No. But if you want to watch that video, that's fine. Just mute it, please.
Is it Pamela Anderson running at least?
CSI Miami.
he's just watching David Hasselhoff slow motion scenes.
Then go to the very end of it whenever he's doing the straight eye contact,
it's
and the
some
peck is just like
people's- It's some people stand in the darkness. That's what.
afraid to step into the light.
Yeah.
Don't you worry, it'll be
Some
all right.
people stand in the
I'll be
darkness.
ready whenever you need me.
I remember when I used to respect you, Lee. 10 seconds ago.
I know.
Yikes.
Man, look at this party. We can't be stopped.
Don't put that.
We got a
challenge.
fucking turtle and a magic elf wizardress.
It's just word of note that the turtle's pretty fucking magic too.
Sure.
There's a bunch of trinkets on his shell that glow, and when I was detecting magic in count. So let's not.
So much so, like, you can't really even see the club that's in his hand.
It's a muted.
Yeah. Or his beak.
So that's our march.
Claws.
Or in the front of his legs.
Poor turtle.
That's our march order, and I guess we're moving at a fast pace.
Yeah.
fast pace.
Alright, so the survival check will be made at disadvantage.
Yep. Well, and with the assistance of Hugh and Genji, would it be
No, it will be done at disadvantage.
because we're all moving fast, right?
Yeah. Natty 1, you walk off the cliff.
14.
But you hold hands like Thelma.
14.
It's
14.
really good on a
Yeah.
disadvantage roll.
Like,
So-
I'm +6 survival, so
Nice.
she's seen the world.
As you guys are pushing out from camp, you see Caracas over his shoulder with tears in his eyes, looking at what may be the last he will see of the multi-layered cod. It's played out. It burnt really hot whenever it first was introduced. Everybody could feel the burn. They could feel the heat from it. But
Then
now
it
that
blacked
the
out.
fires kind of died down a bit from the burn, it seems like it's
As he's walking away,
musician.
does he begin to sing an anthem as he walks away?
Yeah, and he goes, shouldn't have had tiered armor, shouldn't have had tiered armor.
So he goes out, and you see a very heartbroken individual, as if you were leaving the tomb of, the love of your life that you had to bury before her time. He is very forlorn as you guys set forth.
Bronson will put his arm around him while we're walking off and go,
Cheer up, lad. We got one more city to find, and then I got a ship coming my way. I'll take you for a ride. It'll be no problem.
And he says,
We'll get the deck under your feet again before you know it.
"It is duly appreciated how genteel you can be with a fellow individual there, Mr. Bronson."
And he goes, quite right.
and he sips from his flask and farts. Show him how classy and cultured he is.
Yeah.
Slaps him on the shoulder, offers him his flask, and cuts a fart as they're walking along.
Hugh starts to
Spits.
light up his pipe using his little snap going forward, and you see him kind of pull up, and he starts looking with squinted eyes going to the front. Everybody make a perception check, please.
Disadvantage or
No, just a regular perception check
23?
because he stopped you.
Woo! 16.
As opposed to you guys along the way.
21.
I got a glass.
You got a nat 1?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's too busy fiddling with his
Fiddles.
cod.
So
Fiddling with his fiddle.
as he's walking, Volker doesn't see that everybody is stopped, and he's just staring at Zendala's rear end, and walks right into a tree. And
He walks into a locker somehow.
Where'd he go, Spaz?
And then his pants fall off.
Mr. Belding says, what are you kids doing in this hallway?
hey, what is going on here?
Drop all my books. Mr. Phoebe.
Oh, that's great.
So, Volker, you guys hear a very hollow thong, and you hear this groan, and Volker's head bounces off of the bough of a very large tree. Yeah. And he starts looking around like he's looking for the source of what made the noise. But not so much here or here, but right in here is very red on his cheek. But you guys are stopped. You look out. What was your roll?
21.
16.
9.
23.
Okay, yeah, so you guys are looking out, and you're seeing an IV line where if you come up the hill, you're going to be silhouetted around the surrounding area. But you see him kind of look, and then he leans over to Glaz and says, "Hey, lass, how do you want to attack this thing? We could go to the top of the rise. It'd probably give us a pretty good lookout, but with these wily sons of bitches, they're probably going to be looking back there as a way to see if we're coming over. Do we venture the risk and go to take a look to try to see if we can see where the party's at, or do we want to go do an end around and get around this object?"
Begging Genji over.
Yeah.
Genji, I'm not a tactician. and I relay what Hugh said. What do you think we should
So
do?
the situation is we're
You
coming
have-
up on like a
You're coming up
finger
on
ridge or
a decent sized rise. You're starting to hear with your roll. You guys, she calls it out, and you're starting to hear that the river, a slight amount of rapids as you're getting further south. And I'll go ahead and move you guys. Made a. Oh, that's why.
Yeah, I just wanted in that book I was listening to when Severod tunelessly whistles. What does a tuneless whistle sound?
There's no tune.
So it's not melodic. It's just
Like a single note.
single
right?
note. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe like.
So it's a teapot.
That'd be the
Like a teapot, yeah.
yeah. Morning person. Okay, thanks.
As opposed to going
Yeah.
something like that, it's just pretty good.
The bard.
I'll take
I'll take AIDS for being able to whistle. Hang on.
It had a cool
On
little.
command, no.
Hey!
Here's my red dice. Use it well.
Here's $5.
You just took his thumb off.
Put it right back on.
So, what are you guys gonna do? You gonna go? Basically, it's the way this rise is. You think it would give you good command to be able to look out and around the area, but Hugh has rightly deduced that he's a little bit worried that you would also be spotted because it is a high point that would be easy to see people standing on.
Okay. Yeah, I think we avoid skylining ourselves. But could you use your familiar to just kind of fly casual?
Hey,
Passively is no way to complete VR modes. We're cresting that rise. Let's go. I'm just kidding.
It might give us away just as easily, but
Maybe.
Do you feel like you're like Brawler in your playstyle?
Exactly, yeah.
We can get near the rise and check for signs of somebody having passed before us, though, right?
Okay, yeah.
So let's do that.
How much time do you want to spend looking? Is it just we're moving up there as expeditiously as possible to be able to look and come back and make our decision? Are you trying to be tactical in the way that you approach the environment up there? How much time do you want to invest in this?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, thank you.
We left early and we moved quickly, so I think we have a couple minutes we can spend without losing too much ground. So I think maybe we do. I'll go up there and do a quick leader's recon if anybody else wants to go with me, and then you can come back and make a decision.
Yeah, I'll trail just behind you.
Like 10 minutes there and back.
Okay.
How far away is it from our current position? Like,
Yeah,
how
so
long-
you guys are probably 30 meters from like linear distance
Okay.
to get up to the top.
Okay.
You're starting to see like the trees break up just a little bit
Uh-huh.
as you're getting somewhat close.
So it's like a bald on top of a
Yeah.
little ridge line or whatever. Okay. Yeah, so we'll go, but we won't crest over the
Okay.
peak.
So give me first a perception check and then a survival check.
Can anybody assist me on the survival?
I'll assist you with the survival, but the perception of me trailing behind you on the high.
Yeah, you
assist
can't.
with that.
I don't think you can assist with perception anyway. So that's a
Whoa!
natty 20 on
Natty
perception.
20.
Nice.
And then survival is 18.
Okay, so thinking back to Kazakura and
Why, thank you.
walking through some of the cherry groves with the blossoms coming down,
Ooh, Sakura.
you are taken back to a very peaceful time in life whenever you would study some of the tapestries that were in the daimyo's different palaces.
Mm-hmm.
And you remembered different ways that battles would take place because these were all illustrative points and a way for you to be able to learn not just about your own history, your own culture, but the tactical mistakes that were made militarily. Again, you were a little bit of a hothead, so you weren't super practiced in being able to say exactly what happened. It was
General so-and-so in the 12th Brigade of the 173rd ventured forth on that early morning. Yeah, the sun was coming up and wind blowing from the west. Like, you're not that detailed.
Sure.
But you do know that whenever a fleeing army would go, they would crest hills like this to purposely put terrain features like that as a way to either, if they thought they could fix an enemy in a spot, they would do that. And that's actually what you see, is that the area again here has been very trapped, and through another fucking natural 20.
Defying nature.
You are able to see that the approach coming to the top, the path of least resistance to get up there, is heavily trapped.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Heavily to the point where, in my estimation, it's probably not worth the time to detrap it. It's better to just go around.
I can't make that value call to you.
Okay. How much time would it take for us to detrap it like we did the last time?
So you think it would take approximately 2 to 3 hours
Wow.
So, yeah,
to be able to go
going
through,
around.
because you were seeing the slingshot traps that are up there. You can see depressions where they've weakened the soil, and there are sticks that if you hit your it's a push pull, and so you would pull the stabilizing stick out, causing rock slides to come up there. The approach was built to be a larger force casualty causer, but is hasty in its construction. And so again, likely if they had practiced time, you wouldn't have been able to be able to really notice that, but you know what to look for based upon as you were either disciplined or spending your time doing extra martial practice. You would look at those tapestries, and that brought that back to you. So yes, you can tell that indeed this force has come through, and that exiting that area are two very separate size forces. One of probably 7 to 8 left the side of the mountain out to the west, so to your right as you're heading south. Off to the west, with the main force continuing in a southerly direction of travel.
Can I tell by the tracks? Is there a set of smaller footprints in there that would appear to be like for a human female?
Make that as a your survival check. You did roll that.
It was 18.
Do an investigation check.
Okay.
Now that
Can
you've been
anybody
able
help me
to
with
spot where the tracks are, to see how much you can.
Or is there anybody good at investigation?
I can help
No.
you. Oh wait, no, I can't.
Do you
Not
have to be
investigating.
proficient to help?
Yeah.
You do, yeah.
Okay, I'll help you.
Is this on the other side of the traps that we're looking for this?
Oh yeah. Other side or?
Yeah, it'd be around, maybe on the other side.
Where does the split happen? On the far side of the traps?
North side of the traps.
Near side. Anybody better than minimally proficient at investigation?
I've got a +4.
Okay, so I will assist you while I let you know what.
Buckler, with your keen eye, perhaps you can come up to the front of the column.
What do your ASMR eyes see?
And Zendala says, you do know that my elf eyes could be of use here if someone that would use the cloak.
Bronson elbows him in the ribs. Knocks the wind out of him.
Lady, we prefer if you save your strength for the combat that
I think I know this one.
she'll like to
Tell the elf.
engage in.
Milady, you do whatever the hell you damn well please.
That is very sweet of you to say, Bronson. And so, caring over my condition, thank you so much for your concern.
As Valkyrie moves to the front of the line,
His mustache twirls in place.
I want to just grab some shitty little root looking plant off the ground, like
You make a cord out of it?
blades of grass or whatever.
Okay.
And I want to walk over to Bronson. I was like, you seem quite keen on the lady. In some cultures, giving flora can be considered a way of letting them know your interest, and this appears quite nice. And I try not to laugh and hand him some, just like
Just a handful of weeds.
handful of just like blades of grass. And
He spits it out and goes, terrible idea.
I was just kidding with the process.
All right, so you guys are going to go around the west side or the east side to.
Well, we're trying to determine which way that my sister went, right? So.
Oh yeah, that's your nobody's
So
really
we have
investigation.
Doctor.
Okay, sorry.
Investigate.
At advantage.
Investigate.
Your
Investigate.
Elevate.
Oh, that's bloody good.
23.
Oh, yeah.
19 plus 4.
So
plus 4.
you think Lizzie roll that you had that Lyman that she was very much likely traveling, and there's a drag to the steps.
Okay. That's
And she's part of the main contingent going south.
Okay, so that's the one we'll follow.
Okay.
Is that plastic?
Is there a way that I can safely set off the more noisy of the traps here, where I can stay like off to the side of the area of effect, but still trigger it with like a rope or stick?
Yeah, like a rope, stick,
throw a rock
mage
at it.
hand, throwing a rock to try to pull it, or you could affix a string to the stick and pull it out yourself.
Okay. Yeah, I want to set off a couple of the noisy ones.
Okay. Yeah, give me just a dexterity. How are you going to set them off? You
I
going to
just
yank
want
them?
to like throw a rock at him and set it off or something.
Yeah, so make a ranged attack.
15.
Okay, yeah. so
No,
that's
sorry,
fine.
13.
That's fine.
Okay.
Anything over like a 7,
Okay.
you're good on.
So just don't roll a 1 then.
Yeah, basically. So you go through and you toss it, and you guys hear a that sounds like somebody breaking a chicken bone, and then and stones just start rolling downhill. Smoke and debris are shooting around everywhere, and very large boulders start coming down, and you realize the amount of damage that something like that would have caused. There's a good chance somebody in the party probably would have been killed going forward.
Oh, Gina Karan pulling no punches. Whoa. Very dangerous.
Very compassionate to not leave that for someone else to find.
Like, that was exactly my intent.
Alright, so you guys continue forward. Give me another survival check.
Yep.
And everybody make a perception check at disadvantage.
Is that a disadvantage
Everyone?
still because we're moving? Yep.
At least I'm taking it seriously.
Oh, man. Oh!
Nice.
What kind of check? Perception?
Perception.
That's a 10.
Survival check is at 12.
Okay.
8.
Okay.
16.
Okay.
Nice.
And my perception was 6, but my survival was 12.
Your perception was what, like a 21 or something like that, or 22?
I just got like +2.
I've got a +5 perception.
My investigation's good though.
Okay.
My investigation's shit.
My perception was low enough that it doesn't matter.
So you guys are moving relatively quick. The remainder of the day, you estimate that you've gained ground today, but that you still are a little ways back. But you think that the more you come across possible trap sites, that's delaying this larger force that's out there in front of you. This takes you towards around the 5 to 6 p.m. golden hour as the sun's starting to set.
Eat a ration, probably.
Yeah, so everybody eat for today and drink for today.
Instead of, as everyone goes to drink, as we're gathering around or whatever to have rations, I'm going to use my alchemy jug and expend water from it as the liquid, and it's 8 gallons of water comes out, so it should be plenty of water for everyone.
Whoa.
Wow, really gyre. It's cool that they just put that out.
Right?
Enough to bathe the Goliath, or
What
they're
does
going to
that
be stinky for a couple more days?
I think
So
that's
we
enough.
all should be drinking. The water skin holds. So we're supposed to have 2 water skins a day.
Mm-hmm.
And
So like 2 gallons.
water skin holds 4 pints.
Okay.
So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We need 80 pints.
Holy shit.
I don't like that. That's all.
You do or do not like
I don't like Lee saying holy shit over
Yeah, so 80 pints to get all of us water. 80 pints, we're 2 gallons short, so we will have to use some water spikes. But not many.
Okay, so you guys suck those down. The other crew, you have 3 bodies that have exhausted theirs. Are you aiding them, or do you want to slow down to allow them time to go and search and rummage for?
No, that's I'm including you.
You're including them? Okay, good to go.
We have 2 people need to use a water skin.
I used one.
Yeah.
I can use 2. Okay.
Well, then everybody else gets
I got a
free water.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give up an extra ration for one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll give up a ration as well. So I'm expending 2 rations
Yep,
right
me
now.
too.
Okay. And so are we the 19th?
Let's see.
No, it was the 17th. Today is the 17th.
Today's the 17th.
We're going into the 18th as we go to sleep tonight.
Okay. So,
So still on the 17th.
Yes.
are you guys
Sorry.
willing to set up a camp? Are you guys wanting to?
No, no fires.
Okay.
No fire!
Exactly what he said. He does a better Genji than I do.
His accent's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
You
Because
want
it's
to-
consistent.
I'm quitting.
Can't quit if you're fired.
You're fired.
Good, I can go watch Sunday NFL ticket. The Cowboys are fucking killing.
They're
They got
playing
smashed
off.
yesterday. Yeah.
God, well,
They're out.
the Rams and the Refs defeated the Cowboys yesterday.
Whoa! Bold
Whoa,
claims.
back to D&D.
Bold
We're not
claims.
talking about fucking...
Yeah.
Hey, you brought us here.
But I will say
you
that
fired me.
the Texas Stars last night destroyed the Iowa Wild.
You, you remember that?
It was
Yeah.
a super good game.
It was really good.
It was really good.
It was early in the
It's
evening.
pretty.
3 goals in the first 5 minutes.
It was the first 20 minutes. It wasn't even 5
Yeah,
minutes.
it was great.
Hat trick in the first one.
Okay, so
No,
we're
it's
not
two-
we're
two
not
goals.
camping.
No.
We're not setting up a camp.
We are setting up a camp. We're just not setting fire.
Okay.
Oh, I thought we were just
Putting out bad rolls.
Yeah.
Okay.
We want to. The intent is to make it look like that trap got us. So we're trying to take the sense of urgency away from the main body to give us a better chance of catching up to them.
What you got going on?
Queen, if you will.
That's good.
Yeah.
Just taking all the little.
Oh,
Innards out.
I like that.
Yeah, that's appreciated.
We're gonna need those here.
I noticed that a certain DM did that with all of his rings, and I was like, I don't want to emulate much about their game, but that's a good one thing to emulate.
Yeah. Yeah, so we go through, set up the watch schedule. First watch, go ahead and give me a roll.
Okay.
I'll take the second or third.
What are you
whatever.
playing?
Huh? Oh.
How about nothing?
Yeah, don't play music.
Since noise discipline is kind of a thing.
Just quietly.
Nice. So you guys hear like a pretty slamming beat, just kind of getting finger drummed on the bottom of his lute as he's kind of humming. And
not-
life seems to just be running by in slow motion.
It's so good. Isn't it?
Well-oiled, well-tanned, tight bodies. Yep.
Yep.
And he's really into thinking about them bodies.
What's the check?
This is a perception check.
6. Don't you worry.
So, let me shift maps.
Wasting away in Margaritaville.
Every little thing is gonna be alright.
If I get a sword like to my throat, whooshing, whoosh, and I'm like, doo, 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 doo.
Ooh.
Oh well.
Enhance.
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 Yeah, we want to put ourselves in like a circular formation because we were.
Not camping in wine.
Every little
Oh, we gotta see where our squares are.
We're gonna be alright.
You can go a little bit more.
Smaller.
Yeah.
Wish this had like a fine adjustment.
One more.
There you go. That's about right.
Yeah, perfect. I go based on yours because you have the right. Yeah.
20mm base.
All right, that's close enough for government work.
Whoa,
Which I couldn't do
what
right
was
now.
that?
What?
Did you see that?
Hey.
They weren't paying attention.
No, they weren't.
They don't look at the map.
I test
I was looking at
things.
the map. I just didn't see what happened.
Yeah. I was looking.
All right.
Oh, that's cool. That little effect.
Yeah.
I just wish
I
the
need to start
screen was
leveraging
bigger.
those. You can zoom it. Remember?
I know, but it's perfect size on the squares right now.
Okay. I'll make a bigger one.
Do we have 3 viewers and nobody's saying anything? Come on, chat.
Luke Poop! Luke Poop, what's up?
We were at 9 at one point.
Today?
When we first started, yeah.
Damn.
I just think it took us a few minutes to get into a flow with them, if you will, and that's
We
we
lost
started dropping off.
them. We lost them.
Yeah,
we had-
none of
we
them said,
started
"Hey
nine.
guys, good luck on your stream."
Well, I don't think I need to maybe put
Here's
that in the
$25
description, but
dono.
I don't think people
What's
people
up?
know that we're watching.
We need D&D supplies too.
That's true.
Not just the big guys. We'd love to get some wood to put on the walls and stain
buy
it.
those magnets.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you guys are not doing a
Don't
fire,
think about
so
magnets.
we don't need
I got
any of
shitloads
that.
of
Yeah,
magnets.
rare earth magnets are not cheap.
No, I got tons of good ones.
I'm gonna borrow some.
Amazon, you can get
For the
amazing.
project.
A lot of
8mm by 1mm. They're
Yeah.
like they're great.
yeah, little discs.
Yeah.
I
My
use
buddy for X-wing,
Yeah.
dude, he's got some that are so small.
X-wing? What's he doing? What's he doing magnets for X-wing for?
They're able to put like wings
ship
on
on
that
another
can
ship.
move and.
Oh, so they're customizing their minis.
Well, they did. Now the new ones have that built in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
like adorable little beds.
Some people
Bedrolls.
think.
Bedrolls.
Just get a quick search here. TSA Agent Dave on duty.
Smuggling grapes.
They called me in. I heard there was some kind of shutdown. I'll work for free. Oh, you guys are disgusting.
You're the one. making
You're
it
the
through
only
show.
one talking.
You guys are sick.
Some people need.
Yeah, but you're gross for laughing.
Get that tree out there. Get some trees out there.
Yeah. Wait. That's not normal looking. I perceive a not normal looking tree.
There's gonna be some undergrowth that
Midnight.
is not completely normal. So you guys are bundled up.
Is there any night wood music? Night forest music?
Yeah, it should be playing.
I don't hear anything. I just hear waves crashing. Isn't that word? Get some more juice.
Give some more juice.
Yeah. Speak to me, Jack.
So if you're the only one awake,
Yes.
with your perception check, you're kind of humming to yourself, and you start hearing a lot of steps coming. Not necessarily hurriedly, but a lot of footfalls simultaneously. And coming from the southwest, coming up this way,
From the southwest.
from the southwest coming northeast.
What?
That's a horse.
That's a horse.
That's a donkey.
Oh, it's okay.
It's a
just
donkey.
It's just a supply column.
Get out of my swamp.
Somebody once told me.
Somebody.
The world is macaroni.
You see a armored column break through the underbrush. Everybody else is in a prone position.
Yep. Do you want me to promise?
Please. Except for Val.
That's as far as I can go.
But the fact that you have not had any lights on, they do not know about you, where you're at, and you're kind of sitting propped up against a tree. Put that to his back.
Right here?
Yeah. And out of the underbrush and these ferns, you kind of hear a horse laugh and a bay from a donkey as a footfall comes out and you start to see a armored individual with a spear looking forward, coming out.
Okay, I'm gonna move. So
Yeah.
I get to do something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you trying to be
One.
stealthy?
So we're not in combat right now.
No.
Okay, so I'll try and be stealthy right now.
So roll a stealth check.
Stealth check.
Oh wait, you're at advantage if it's sound based in those boots, right?
So
they're not boots elven kind.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not-
Spider
They're
climb.
the spider climb, yeah, that's right.
Doesn't have that.
Doesn't have that.
No.
What if he walks up the side of a tree?
Silently.
Yeah, steps on some spiders.
He steps on
13.
2 spiders.
13.
Really strong.
So what are you wanting to do?
I'm gonna move towards him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
like right up to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before initiation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once you get 10 feet away,
Walk. Is that 10? That's 15.
we'll stay there because they're also moving forward.
Okay.
So you pause there.
Yeah.
Everybody here moves 5 up.
Give him the Care Bear stare.
And the guy up front, which he needs to be the spearman.
We call him Crooked Spear.
Immediately a spear is leveled down at you,
Yeah.
and he says, "Right where you go.
What? Do what?
Right where you go."
Right where you go? My name is Valkyr. I'm sorry. What did you say? Did you say right where you... What?
Said, "Stop right where you go.
Stop. What?
Stop
I'm
right
confused.
where you go."
My name is Valkyr. I'm an Azamar
And
bard.
you guys all hear a commotion to the southwest that wakes. Yeah, it would wake all of you because of his loud mouth. So everybody's now awake,
bananas.
and you are seeing. Yeah,
No more bananas.
you guys are seeing this force that is immediately upon you, heavily armored. You haven't seen that many people with any type of armor on, but this is a very heavy leather that they come walking out in.
What color
and
is it?
You've got some stained crimson in the leatherwork that's on there, and he's like, "Who the fuck are you?"
So just real quickly in my head, do these guys look like the same guys that I saw marching away?
Roll. Nah, they're decent enough apart that you don't think these are them.
Okay. So I tell them I'm Valkyr. My name is
All right,
Valkyr
you-
again.
Your hands up. Get
Yes.
over there with your party. State your business.
What's your business?
This is a restricted
I'm
area.
with the king.
Roll a deception check.
Did you say I'm the king?
No, I'm
With the king. We're awake by now.
Yeah.
27.
Oh! We're also trying to find this while he's yelling.
Okay. As an incidental, you pull your charter out. And one of the guys comes up from the back and says, "Well, it appears as if they've got a charter up there. Bring that paper forth, please." And they look it over. And when were you with the Blaze Portier?
Bronson's having his morning piss, but facing him. Just like watching the interaction, just pissing. Hands looking right
Hands behind your head.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just staring him down.
We were the Blaze not more than 2 days ago.
And what exactly was she doing this far out?
I'm sorry, I don't know who you are, and I don't know that I should share her information with you. Who are you?
I am Marshal Rosham.
Oh, hello.
I am
My
a
name
marshal.
is Marshal Russian.
Roll a stealth check if you're trying to hide from saying that. Yeah, so you guys look over and you see him start to. And.
Sounds behind him, like, yeah.
So he calls out and pretty much says that they're a contingent with the Flaming Fist, and that they have been moving through on a standard patrol along the western side. They were waylaid by pirates on the western side of Cholt, and they are the last surviving members from that vessel that was sunk, and they're trying to make their way through the jungles to be able to get back. And asks if he can share the camp while you guys are at the campfire. Asks if he can help
share
bed
the
down for a
darkness.
second.
So you said your rank was Marshal, and Marshal would be rank beneath Blaze, is that correct?
Several.
Several.
On the way
And
down.
our paper is signed by, remind me again, Blaze, isn't it?
Yes, the Liara.
Roll a
Blaze.
condescension check.
What I mean is I just...
That's a con.
con.
on your sheet.
5 plus whatever I'm adding to it.
Yeah.
Um,
That is very
No.
condescending. Congratulations.
no, my point is, she's in Camp Vengeance. And is that your destination?
Well, we're trying to make our way and be able to get down through. Yeah. I was like, I was starting to go to Caracas. I was like, oh shit. Anyway, he says that they're just trying to get north and east, and they've been making their way through. He relays to you that there is a Wood Elf tribe that they encountered that ended up getting 2 members of the company killed.
The
Apparent-
elf got the... I'm sorry.
What else
Killed
killed
two of their
two
party.
of the company?
Okay.
and that he has encountered some undead, and that 2 of the individuals that were pretty bad wounded, some dinosaurs ended up getting them. They couldn't be able to. They were incapable of rescuing. So this is the stranded remnants of that party, and they're trying to make their way to some form of civilization. They have no map. They have no reckoning of where they're at, and so he's been very interested in kind of ascertaining from you guys exactly where in the heck they are.
Okay.
2 days ride or 2 days travel, their eyes perk up. Everybody in the party, like, we're that close to Fort Belluron, and then you say Camp Vengeance, and they have no idea what the fuck Camp Vengeance is.
Well, we're terribly sorry for your losses. Is anyone in your company right now hurt or injured and needs assistance?
And one of the guards speaks up and says, mostly it's Trenchfoot, because it's been raining on the west side of the continent very heavily, and has been one that is it's been a very arduous journey. So it's malnutrition, malaria, and they look very jaundiced and very sick.
With whatever magical healing I can do to help any of those conditions, I've got Cured Wounds Healing Word and Prayer of Healing I can do, so let me know where to expend, and I will to try to become
Yeah, do a prayer of healing.
done. Prayer of Healing on the...
Malnourished and wet feet, lads, that sounds fucking terrible.
And he goes and eats another banana and he's pulling on dry socks.
Oh man.
Exactly. Eating peaches.
It's like mush.
I'm gonna ask the detachment commander there if they encountered anybody like wearing armor similar to mine or carrying weapons similar to this katana, and I'll show them.
So he grabs a spear from one of his guys, the marshal does, and he draws the banner
Okay.
out and says that there was what sounded like wildlife coming through because they were moving at a decent clip. Armored, a mixture of how he describes it as civilian and military.
Okay.
Being
Describes the
pulled
armor as
forth.
civilian and military?
Well, no, like the personnel in the
Okay.
column.
Okay.
I was gonna roll up there and
Okay.
thunder away.
Got it.
And
Do you have an approximate count and mix of how many civilian, how many military?
The military was, I think, 5 military, and then a collection of what looked like slaves that were with them.
Okay. And how were they armed? What weapons were they carrying?
he talks about hiding and staying as quiet as he can within the down in the ferns as this group came going by. So they were more like not wanting to be discovered rather than doing what their military training should have had, which was gain and maintain enemy contact.
Sure.
What was that?
They relay that it would have been yesterday afternoon that they had first heard, and so they very quickly tried to hide, and then the column came by, and they disengaged yesterday afternoon.
Okay.
Did they? Could have been after this one, potentially.
Yeah, maybe. Sorry, bless.
Yeah. Well, no, it would have been after they split off because they split off here. We're here. They encountered them somewhere over here, and now we met. That's what happened. Did they overhear any conversations? Anything that they were talking about that you remember?
No.
Okay. Were there any women in the group?
Yes.
How many?
There were two. One was a humanoid looking woman, not very well clothed, looked to be malnourished, and was had her arms bound to like a not a large tree trunk, but a sizable one that had gear hanging from it.
Okay.
And he found it odd that there was a lot of larger. No, there were no caves. No, there is not. They found it odd that you had that many able-bodied males, and it seemed like this one woman was being forced to carry quite a bit.
How old
So-
does she look?
Late teens, early 20s.
Okay.
So Bronson stuffs all of his stuff in his pack and goes, "Well, you limp-wristed Sallies, it's time to go save some ladies. Let's roll."
I'm looking at my
Well, we just
wrist
said-
like, they're not that limp.
I just set a camp for these things.
And Bronson flexes like a strange muscle that has his forearm. Yeah. Bronson's stupid.
At least he doesn't just yell all the time.
I can do that. I can start doing that.
Okay.
Are you guys going to execute a rest plan? Or are you going to continue?
I look at Genji.
I think we should.
It's Genji. It sounds like
Yeah.
your sister's in dire straits. If you think it's safe for us to rest and head out in the morning, but
Pitter patter.
I think we. I think we can afford to rest, and I think we can afford to do a long rest, but we can't dilly dally any outside of that. And what I'm hoping is that the setting off the traps bought us some time. They think we're dead or severely wounded, and they're going to slow down a little bit. Maybe that's not the case, but they're also, if they have a lot of civilians in that group, they're not going to be able to move as quickly as we can either. So we're willing to move faster than they can and for longer than they can. I think we can catch them, but without neglecting ourselves. Is what I'm
all right, Marshall, then you can stay with us for tonight.
But you have to share in camp watch schedule.
And Yota, do you think maybe you could take some of the parchment that you have and draw them a map towards Camp Vengeance?
Ooh, very nice.
That's fair. Yeah, and
Or
if
we can
they
show them
might
where-
happen to recognize any of this.
Oh. So you pull that out. He grabs, takes a look at it.
Maybe he can annotate what he knows from that onto our larger map too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We still have that greater quest.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do have some extra paper and a quill, so I can make them a little makeshift map.
So he points down and directs you to Jahaka Bay
Whoa!
and says that these likely represent the Kobold Mountains. These are the Mist Cliff Mountains. And that they followed from Jahaka a river that cuts through here. And I will draw that in if you give me my pencil.
So we know we have the west coast of Schultz.
Anybody want anything on that? Ben,
Did
anything?
you guys go to buy food at Costco?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Another black. Shiner black.
We need to acquire food.
Yeah, I've
You
got
guys close to that bottle?
the remnants of a chicken shawarma sitting in my car, probably spoiling.
Take a beer.
That's bad.
So
Should we eat
he
it right now or not at all?
he draws out the River Taff, which comes from the bay, and that's pretty much what they followed as they've come through. He points out that he has seen a substantial mine that had a decent amount of kobolds going through and trying to secure, but not necessarily. Didn't really see like the workings where their carts coming out. It seemed like they were trying to secure and were interested in what was inside, as opposed to having an established mining operation there. And that was right by the bay. That Jahaka Anchorage, which is in here, that this is also, and you guys know that it is, Jahaka is right here. That's where that mine is at. Here's the river that comes up, and you guys are somewhere near Vengeance up here on your way moving south towards Mumbala. So you know that this is actually the west coast now of Cholt.
Great. That's something.
So yeah, thank you so much for that, and we'll draw you a map so you can get to Vengeance when you part ways with us. But for now, come join our campfire. Do you have provisions or?
And he points over, and they do have a decently appointed donkey, as far as like having supplies.
Wait, are you saying we're eating the donkey tonight?
He kind of chuckles. No. Calls forth, and they've got like military issue rations.
Okay.
In a decent supply, so everybody can roll a d6, and that's how many additional days rations that he's going to give in service, since they don't have to go all the way. 2, 3.
What do I do with this?
Yeah, those are your 3 rations.
Okay.
Do we burn one tonight? Or
Yeah, so we gotta eat. So I'll take care of the 3. I'll take care of the 3 string.
Roll a d6, and that's how many field rations that they're giving you guys.
I took care of the crew,
They have extras?
Zindala and myself.
I guess a bunch of these.
Well, so now they yes, it's a lot of people have bought it along the way, and then they now only have to go to Camp Vengeance instead of all the way down.
Okay.
The journey isn't going to take as long, so they're as payment and thanks. And you got to think of this as kind of the rules of the road in a lot of these instances out here. You may have competing ideologies, or you may have different motivations out there, but it's you versus nature out here, and so they want to make sure that since you guys have been sanctioned, you're operating legally. They want to make sure that they help you out, and you feel really good about forging a relationship with that NPC.
Also, I'll do the alchemy jug for the water. And then I will cast create water for the different
fire.
Okay.
that should take care of all of our, because create water does 10 gallons, so 10 plus 90 gallons of water. Right?
10 plus 8.
10 plus 8, 18 gallons. Yeah, so 18 gallons of water should be more than enough for everyone.
Oh yeah. Nice.
And to refill, whoever had skins that were decremented,
And
should refill those.
Hook up the donkey.
Yeah.
In the excess we can.
And so you're you lay them down, and the first time you guys have heard Glaz's singing voice is a religious experience. She starts as everybody's coming in, and lays down everybody in a circle, and she's kind of petting the neck of the pack horse that's out there, and a little bit of a hum starts, and then she goes into what sounds kind of like a Gaelic ballad. Not quite, these are the old-timey ballads, don't think power ballad, 1980s hair band, but...
Too late.
But more like a Gordon Lightfoot-esque tale that's being sung.
There's no such thing as a Lightfoot half.
Gordon Lightfoot.
I'll take my inspiration point now.
I think you've actually written me a character for my part. I'm Gordon Lightfoot, and I only speak in lyrics.
You're like, I can't keep playing this game. I gotta go meet that character.
And so Glaz is singing, and this prayer healing goes out, and everybody is there kind of laying there. Whose watch schedule is second?
I think I'm third.
Okay, I'll go second.
Midnight again.
I'll go second.
So, Bronson, you're walking around hearing Glaz sing, and you are heartened. You feel like you feel inspired, and this prayer healing goes out. And you've seen some interesting things in your time of mostly ways to hurt people with magic, but to see like the very essence of life stitched back together, and these broken, destitute guys that maybe had 2-3 days left, being able to like continue on, to see them restored back to the way that they look is something that is moving to you, and something you had not seen before. So roll your perception check. And give me a religion check, Glaz.
9.
13.
Alright, so yours starts up, and you don't really feel tired at all. All the excitement getting roused from your sleep. I am Valka! Is something that's a little bit alarming. And so you don't feel like you're losing your edge at all. Your 3 hours come and go, and all of the Flaming Fist guys are asleep at this time. It goes to third watch.
Yep, I'll come wake him up. Bed down.
Roll it.
5.
Okay.
Too busy looking at your book to notice anything.
You had a 9.
9.
Are you taking a look at the book?
Mm-hmm.
So the marshal has stayed up to provide a watch, leading by example, and making sure that his guys sleep. And he, for looking much improved from whenever you went to sleep, he still looks like he's not feeling well. And he looks out, and for the first hour of your watch, you guys have light conversation. If there's anything specific you want to probe him on, we can handle that. Or if you just want, fireside chat, small talk, we can do that as well. Up to you. But nothing eventful happens during your first hour until midnight comes.
And then what?
And then at midnight,
And then?
And then
you see a thicker fog as you've progressed south than what you had seen before, and the same ritual happens again, to where the light cuts through and you start to see it, and he reaches for his weapon and is kind of recoiling back, staring at this, looking somewhat scared of this giant who has a, normally you're just this bruising a-hole walking around, but has a very articulate diction and is, very learned, and it just, things never cease to amaze him.
So I'll just say we were kind of small talking, the first hour, but when I go to study the book, I see him kind of recoil. Is there reason to be suspicious of this magic, Marshal?
And he, speaks of, to your learned ear, old wives' tales about, different things that if you, don't use fennel fronds and throw them over your right shoulder whenever somebody does a fart sneeze, that they're going to die of a heart attack in like 3 years. He, for his rank and the like a marshal is not like a field marshal. It's you're basically like a sergeant first class. You lead a group of folks, but you're not doing like large strategic level planning and the like. But you've got a lot of experience, and so he's pretty wary.
Okay. Is the Flaming Fist historically like anti-magic, or do they have a...
No, so they are all about protecting commerce for Baldur's Gate around the planet. And they're...
They use magic. Some of them are...
Yeah, some of them, they have magic users there. Now, they are anti-Fae, as are the Lord's Alliance, the Order of the Gauntlet. Anybody...
Gauntlet!
Fae, think of like the Cold War. Fae is Russia. And the Red Wizards are the KGB. So the rest of the Western powers are extremely distrustful of all types of magic. So if you come in with your Boris voice and are doing magic things, there's a little bit of distrust, even though you may have people of Russian descent in the Western militaries.
Could we make sure that from here on out, all Red Wizards of Fae speak with a Russian accent?
You really tell us where you find moose and squirrel.
Make it
where is moose and squirrel?
Baldrith from...
Yeah,
Yeah.
that guy.
Your jokes are not funny.
We had some good interactions.
In fact, joke tell
Remember,
you.
he was the old guy in Barovia who had the item shop.
You're negotiating with him over the
You
cat.
little woman.
It was so bad.
Don't say you abjurate yourself.
Capital.
So yeah, so midnight comes. It begins to glow. The same effects. It's just that the fog seems a little bit thicker than what it did further north.
Seeing his hesitation that I won't open it tonight, I'll just sort of sit back and observe and see if there's any change. By moving out of the lights, does it do anything?
Yeah. So the light isn't like a beam of light coming down, even though there is a centered intensity. It just seems to, from the moon, coming down to the book. And as you're moving it around and your hand passes through it, you start to glean almost like like whenever you were a little kid and you had like the sheet there that had red squares, blue squares, and everything like that, and you put a red lens over it and have the secret on it. It's almost as if like your understanding is doing that, and as you're manipulating it, you kind of feel almost what the title of the book may be.
Okay. Do I get that?
Yeah. So it's inconsequential to what we would be doing now, unless you want to socialize it to the rest of the group. Okay.
I'll hang on to that. But yeah, seeing the marshal's unease, I'm not going to push the boundaries on it, but I'll just continue to sort of make small talk and try to get the sword back into sheath, basically.
So you should say Klaatu Barada Nikto.
You find
Evil
an altar.
Dead?
I
Evil Dead
slice
2?
my wrist open and offer a blood offering to, to the death god.
Klaatu Barada
I
Nikto.
only did that once.
You only get one opportunity to do that.
So yeah, your watch continues, and the effect goes away, but you are never really able to know when that really took place. It seems like for a moment, everything, it was like it had just started up and was had that blue light, and then it's like in the next instant it's gone, but you don't really recognize that clear-cut divider line whenever that on-off switch takes place. It's odd to you.
Okay. I guess in my remaining watch, I'll just try to ask him about the encounters that he's had. Has he noticed anything about the undead or the wood elves that attack them as well? If there's anything you can tell us about that.
Okay, so he opens up about the wood elves and says that they are very rarely militant, and very rarely do they ever have weapons on them. That they're typically a very peaceful, loving culture within the western side of Chol. But this tribe, for some reason, all of them were equipped, and whenever the force came walking through, immediately just started loosening arrows at them just on sight.
Where was that? Where did that happen?
If you follow along the river near Ataz Kahaka,
okay. Is that
just
in our
north of it.
Is that in our direction of travel?
Yeah, you guys will be up here.
Okay.
So kind of in the direction of travel.
That's it's a pretty good distance.
It'd take a bit to get there.
Okay.
But you guys are moving pretty much 2 of these a day since you're rushing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes mountains.
I guess I'll just remark, like, doesn't sound like any wood elves that I know. But perhaps, who knows in this world? Perhaps they were possessed by something more sinister. Nothing else about the undead you could tell us?
I mean, his reports on the undead are like everything you've seen. That he talks about how some of the dead are just dead outright, and these husks, it's like whatever power was imbuing them to go forward, just decided to dry up one day, and they just fell where they went, these husks. And he speaks about coming across, at first it was smaller zombie, so like a child or adolescent that had been zombified. He'd find, empty zombie children husks. And then it's starting to be like crouched over, gnarled form, so maybe elderly, whenever they were zombified. Those are starting to just be husks that he's come across. And he's heartened by it because, it's been able to, give them, a little bit of a reprieve as they've been going through. The thing you find the most interesting in talking with him was about the night that the pirates ended up attacking them. This would have been probably a week ago-ish, and one of the first officers on the boat had caught sick, and it was like nothing that they'd ever seen before. That he was a veteran of several engagements, had died during one of the battles and had been resurrected, and he had just day after day slowly wasted away into nothing, and it died, and it was like his form was just weeping away off of him.
Well, with that, I think that might be the end of my watch.
Give me an intelligence check.
Just straight intel.
Mm-hmm.
Non-nat 20.
Non-nat 20. So with that, you are trying to help him rationalize how many days have gone by and everything like that, and that big reverberating boom that you had felt as you guys were traveling out, coming down from up north, and then you started seeing all the sicknesses and just random people dying. You line that up whenever that first officer was instantly became ill. And so you find them to be interrelated.
Okay. Once we get to breakfast, I guess I'll quietly pass that on to the rest of the group.
So let's go fourth watch. Go ahead and give me your perception check.
14.
Okay. So, actually, I have to roll that. Okay. So your time has been spent as you're looking around. You are doing a fantastic job of not just being maniacally focused on going after and extracting revenge on these folks, and you're surprising yourself You
That I'm
think
just not like
that you're
going
not
balls
just
out.
like, you didn't just run off and in a blind rage run through all these traps. It's almost as if you feel like your father there with you as you're doing your prayers. And you for sure know now, as you're lighting your incense and you feel a hand clasp your shoulder, that your dad is for sure dead, but has manifested himself standing behind you
Oh, wow.
Force Ghost?
and says,
Can I talk to him?
Genji, you have brought great honor upon our family.
Oh, wow. I'm gonna bow like as deeply as I can, putting my head on the ground and just like, Father, you honor me with your words.
Genji, you do not bow to me. You are head of our clan going forward. You must now extract your revenge.
This is fun. Father, please.
Exactly.
I know my history is one of being quick to anger and making poor, hasty decisions. You must help me. If I make one mistake, I could lose my sister forever.
I am not able to address you and take away the challenge that you will be running up against here today. You will very likely, before the sun falls, encounter and have to dispatch the great Jade ninjas. A large group of them. You must guide your blade true and use your allies.
Hi, Father. The justice will be fast and merciless.
and with that, you still feel the presence, but the manifestation out of your incense has left. As your father seems gone, but not.
Okay. I will spend the rest of the morning in contemplative silence as I pack up my things and get us ready to go.
Okay.
So he was the only one talking that he could. No one else could hear the other person, right?
We're all sleeping.
Yeah, I kind of have one eye open and I'm just like.
Right, that's fair.
I'm gonna be like, am I drunk? Can I go back to sleep?
So, the end of the fourth watch comes, and Genji walks through person to person. With your party, or are you waking up the...
I'll wake up the marshal and
Flaming
let him
Fist.
decide how to
Okay.
handle his crew.
So you go through and wake up everybody. You guys stand up, and there is nothing but business in Genji's eyes. You see a crimson glow about his armor.
Genji,
Hi.
your armor's it's glowing.
Do I
didn't
notice
know-
anything?
No, you don't.
Okay.
What?
Are you sure? It looks fine to me.
Yeah. If
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
While the camp's getting ready, let me just do a ritual cast, and I didn't know yet your armor was imbued with magic, but I'm gonna ritual cast detect magic over 10 minutes while I'm packing up for the morning.
Okay. So as you look him over, he is luminous in his glow, but it is not a glow that is arcane.
Okay. I don't know what's going on with your armor's fucking glowing. that was anime.
Yeah, that's like the whole emoji. Like,
Yeah. It's the morning of the 19th. So I guess we head out, Genji, to
and what I will say, I'll say to the party, I believe, I won't say why I believe it, but I'll say this: I believe that we might be coming in contact with Jade Clan ninjas today, and we should be prepared.
So your intuition tells you this.
Hi, Little Bird told me.
Are you driven as well?
I'm looking around.
You are multi-talented. Multifaceted.
Cut over to Bronson. He's got a big lip full of chew, and he's smearing war paint under his eyes.
Oh!
And, like, all of the
just needless leather straps
exactly,
around his
yeah.
muscles.
Well, just like knives tucked in everywhere, and yeah, he's got the. Oh, and puts on a headband.
Is that does that should make you a sexual tyrannosaurus?
That's exactly right.
And so the morning of the 19th has hit. You hurt your eye?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I got two of them.
You'd be a good dad. All right, so you guys, you wake up and you see in Genji's armor this weird glow to where you think that the armor may be made out of something different just because of how it looks. Touching it, it feels just like any other piece of armor that you've ever seen. You guys see the glow, but you don't see that Marshall, who recoiled back at something so oddly magical. He doesn't seem to pay Genji any more mind than any of the rest of it.
Marshall, are you all making from Camp Vengeance this morning then?
There we are.
Oh, your voice changed again.
Did it? Okay.
I was mostly just testing you. We thank you again for the map. And you have the map that we gave you for directions to Camp Vengeance. And the Blaze Lydia Potter, she's not expecting that you guys will sync up with Lydia. He should have recognized that her name was wrong in my mind. So.
Oh, Lydia?
Yeah, Potter. I was intentionally
Courtier? Okay, yeah, sorry.
There's nothing there.
He would have picked that up.
Okay. Okay. All right.
No, that was good. Yeah.
Thanks.
DM didn't get it.
Well, he thought I was just getting it wrong, probably.
Yeah.
Which I've done more than once, but I was intentionally doing it that time. Okay.
Impressed you remember
Just
the
do
last
this
name,
next
but-
time.
Oh yeah, the line.
Insight check. Does Billy have his finger on his nose? Yes! Yes, he does!
So I guess we should head out, Genji. Are we worried about traps in front of us again?
I'm trying to think how to.
It's like
the path will probably be trapped again. You must be very vigilant.
so maybe we don't go as fast as we've gone the past 2 days, so we can.
I'm gonna get kind of contemplative because I'm just itching to get there, but at the same time I don't, I'm very afraid of being reckless too. So
Not a religion check. What is a knowledge? Insight check yourself.
You better check
Before
yourself
you wreck
before you insight check yourself.
That's right there.
You already have an inspiration too. That's 19.
So you feel like you have 3 to 4 charges to be able to re-roll something.
Okay.
That there is an element of your destiny that is about to fall in place, and you think that there's something going, and so it's up to you, because you have that sense. I don't want to say that yes, you feel like you could just charge forward, but you think that you could influence the series of events that are about to lay out before you, that all of the great heroes that you were taught about growing up, that you idolized, that you thought, one day I have to place my name up there. You feel like on Scrolls, today might be one of those days in regards to you.
Okay. So what I'll say is I feel we are very close. I feel we have something of a tactical advantage with our misdirection earlier with the traps we set off. I feel we must press our advantage, but we must not be reckless as we press advantage.
You're a tactician, so we head out then. So Marshall, I guess we'll be seeing you maybe at Camp Bellerond at some point in the future. It was a pleasure to meet you. I go in and do a
Nux.
what was it?
A flaming fist.
Gauntlet.
Gauntlet.
And
This
he-
is the gauntlet. I think the flaming fist when you need flames.
God, I just want to give you things.
I'll take a reroll. I've got an advantage.
No, that is a reroll.
So
Oh,
I'll
that's right,
I'll
okay.
do this at it.
The flaming.
And he kind of waves back.
Oh, that's even better. What if the flaming fist one is they give Hadouken high fives?
I want to take things from you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Not so.
Yeah, no, so you guys, he looks kind of odd. So the Order of the Gauntlet does the Nux.
Yeah.
They're flaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he kind of looks at you, and then he kind of looks at you, and calls for the party to start taking off. What is your order of march?
I will be.
As they're going, I'm just going to run up to the marshal and say, Marshal, this shield that I have here, this is we found a shield and I'm keeping the shield that we found, but I have an excess shield. Maybe you can put it to use, you or yours. It's just been dragging weight on my back.
And roll a perception check.
24.
Towards the back of the convoy as they're walking out. Oh, great, something else we have to fucking carry.
It's just funny because I was going to dump on the side of the road. But how close to being encumbered I was.
Does Bronson hear him say that?
Yeah.
That goes,
If you lads need to unload any weapons, you got any extra swords or scythes, or you got any spears you need to get
Perception
rid of any,
starts rattling off.
Knife, shanks, daggers,
Perception?
Yeah.
Poignards.
No, persuasion. check.
misery cords.
Persuasion or intimidation, whichever one you want to use.
Is that good odds?
No, it's a dagger.
17.
It
Okay,
goes
so
Like, or for person.
you are kind of. It's the military tradition of these guys understand where you are going, and it's yeah, we still have to protect ourselves, but we're going to the rear.
You're going towards safety.
You guys are
We're
going
into the fray.
into the shit. So a few of them kind of bounce together. They reach into the donkey's pack, and one of them says, "Well, we've got this set of throwing axes. We've got throwing knives. Mostly just give you a little bit of distance with something to throw. We've got some javelins. Well, what do you take?"
of the choices, lads, I'll take the javelins.
Okay, so roll me a d12.
Okay.
That's how many javelins.
Oh, that's tilted. Hang on.
Oh, 2.
Okay, so you get 2 javelins.
That's alright. That's cool.
And they say, with the dinosaur threat, we prefer to keep a few of these behind, but there's not that many of us, and between the spears and the javelins, we should be alright. So he hands those over, and one of the guys, pretty hulking dude, kind of puts his hand up on your shoulder and kind of gives you the head, like, better you than me, and then walks off.
Is it a javelin of lightning?
While you were nice enough to do that for me,
Just check.
I'm not that nice to you yet. Oh no, Alec gave that to me. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
So fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So once we get out of earshot of Marshall and his crew, we'll just relay sort of the discussion that we had overnight. They ran into the elves, which were armed, which was weird. They've encountered undead and stuff like
Roll a
that.
d20 and store it.
Okay.
And
D20 what?
his,
Roll a d20 and store the value in your head.
discomfort with the spell book, and I just described like it happened again. I didn't open it this time, but I could tell that the marshal was a little bit uncomfortable with it. So
Yeah.
just to let everyone know. What's
So Jotun describes to you a very large man with another man camping together, and an event took place last night where somebody felt a little bit uncomfortable.
Canteen boy.
Yes. And Alec Baldwin. Well, canteen boy.
Oh.
That's so good. Anyway, so yeah, he tells you guys, and so now that you have seen, Jotun practice magic and do some pretty interesting things. I mean, like the ice dagger alone, and how helpful that was in the Sunless Citadel. You respect his prowess controlling it. There's a few magic users amongst you, but for divine-based inspiration versus the weave, for him to be discerning this, you feel like he's the right person in the party to do it. But you're also a little bit like, what isn't he telling us? Because the way he explains it, it seems somewhat oversimplified for spending 2 nights with it to not know more about it. If that makes sense. Not that you don't trust him. You just wonder what he's debating in his head to tell you guys after spending 2 full nights watch with that item. I think it's a safe way to say it. I'm not trying to put any type of motive or anything out there. That is just something that everybody here would be like, if he's that good, because you've never seen him miscast, which magic users out there would just pop like fucking water balloons because of the rip in the spell weave during the spell plague. Wow. And so for the volume of magic that he's casted fearlessly and done this without it going and anything bad coming out of it, like, you think this guy's pretty shit hot.
Yeah.
He should know more about this than what he's letting on.
Interesting.
Have you spent any time with the scrolls? Because I feel like you should add some more spells to your repertoire.
That's true. I basically just need to pay the gold cost to learn some of these spells, but
Well, if you I've got some gold. I don't have any ink or paper, but I've got some gold if you need it at some point. Maybe also if you open that book, you go a little bit further away from camp. And let one of us know you're doing it, so we know what the bright glow is when you blow up.
right.
And then we'll run over it all completely as best as I can, but if you evaporate into nothing, I can't fix that.
That's why I've been cautious with this. I've seen when things go poorly, how poorly they can go. So I appreciate your concern.
I'm curious though. I know I probably couldn't keep my hands off from opening it the moment I got it.
I think we might be able to learn some things in the next few days, but I will need more time.
Fantastic.
Alright, so give me a survival check at disadvantage.
We're moving. Sorry, I got
Back to careful pace.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so roll it regular.
Standard.
Yeah.
Standard.
9.
9.
You get advantage?
No,
Not
no,
advantage.
he said
Not
he said
advantage.
roll it six.
Regular roll.
Oh, okay.
Okay, then everybody make a perception check regular.
Regular.
16.
23.
14.
Not nat 20. Yeah, it's just
Okay.
okay.
16.
Yeah.
Not nat 20.
Ah!
10.
23.
Thought it was 14.
Okay. So we're going to break for chow
Okay.
and see where this takes us.
Oh boy.
We're very excited.
So,
Back in
back in the amount of time it takes us
For
to
to eat food.
decide what to eat and to get it, to consume it,
and then come back.
do some other stuff.
And then, we're not going to be doing anything reckless, but we hope to wreck more.